What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 13 Chapter 561 The Breath of Black, a symbol of disaster and death. Chapter 561 The Breath of Black, a symbol of disaster and death. Although it is a pity, it doesn't matter. As long as he defeats Mi Hong in this world, then Uchiha Qiye will be able to retire even if he succeeds. He will find an old forest in the deep mountains to meditate every day, and he will naturally be able to live freely in the heaven. As soon as he thinks of the celestial world, Uchiha Qiye feels that the real world is not very interesting, and it is not as fun as the celestial world. But now is not the time to go to heaven, because an unusually evil aura has been caught by Uchiha Qiye. His face instantly became hesitant. This Mi Hong really can't be idle, and he has to make trouble forever, so Uchiha Qiye is angry in his heart. If it wasn't for this guy, he would have retired long ago. No way, since he felt this aura, he had to destroy his magic circle, but this time it was different. He had to figure out this magic circle and figure out what was going on. If it is in the drum, then it is equivalent to being played around by Mi Hong. Uchiha Qiye thought to himself, he must change from passive to active, even if he doesn't know what this thing is. This superficial world can't give him the answer at all, so he will write down this thing and then go to heaven and ask about it. It's okay. So Uchiha Qiye quickened his pace and ran directly to another location. But he suddenly discovered that the distance was so far. With Uchiha Qiye's foot strength, even after chasing for an hour, this evil aura was still far away, which made people feel an unusual feeling. So Uchiha Qiye entered a state of calm. He walked into a meadow, sat down and entered the mode of meditation. He felt that he must have stepped into some misunderstanding, or some force was interfering with him, otherwise there is absolutely no way such a thing could happen. When Uchiha Qiye entered the state of meditation, he suddenly found that this evil aura was surrounded by a purple mist, and the mist was rising in the air, with no foundation at all. As long as he took a step forward, he would take a step back in the fog. No matter how fast Uchiha Qiye used it, he would never be able to keep up. Then the result is obvious. This is someone misleading Uchiha Qiye, making him farther and farther from the truth. Needless to say, this must have been done by Mi Hong, and it definitely did not happen by accident. So at this time, although Uchiha Qiye knew that he had been tricked, he must not be angry because of it, and he must remain calm and rational. What exactly did Mi Hong want to hide? This is a very interesting thing. So at this time Uchiha Qiye looked back at the road he had come before, and suddenly found that in the distant land of sand at this time it was enveloped in a black aura. That is to say, just after he came out of the country of sand, an abnormality occurred there, and the meaning of the black aura in meditation must be disaster and death, which is happening like a raging fire. So Uchiha Qiye now knows that Mi Hong is creating a phenomenon of terror and death in the land of sand. This is definitely not a joke. There may be countless deaths every minute. Uchiha Qiye, awakened from meditation, has reached the peak of anger. Advertisement Chapter 562 Chapter 562 He absolutely does not allow this kind of thing to happen and progress, because if it goes on like this, he will not be able to complete his mission of saving the world at all. Uchiha Qiye stood up immediately and rushed directly to the land of sand with the fastest speed. He had to save the people there, but while he was running, he thought about what went wrong. The ceremony was solved, and the summons of darkness were all destroyed. What kind of trouble could Mi Hong make in that place? He didn't understand, and he had no way of knowing what was going on. As a result, Uchiha Qiye accelerated his speed even more, rushing directly towards the land of sand with a phantom speed. After only an hour, he finally reached this place. Originally, the desert has become an oasis in the land of sand. At this time, it has once again fallen into the stage of war. What is going on? Countless roars and turbulent voices came one after another. Uchiha Qiye saw many people killing each other outside the country gate of the Kingdom of Sand, and those kind-hearted villagers of the Kingdom of Sand killed each other as if they were enchanted. Uchiha Qiye was flustered. He couldn't figure out what was going on for a while, but he flew over and took out a blade of the Thunder Spirit in his hand, because Uchiha Qiye couldn't tell the difference between friend and foe at all, so the acupoints of the villagers were sealed with swords, making them unable to move at all. In a word, as long as they can stop them from killing each other, then the killing is stopped, because until now, Uchiha Qiye has not seen any decent organization at all, but only the turmoil within the Kingdom of Sand. But that evil aura was raging. Obviously Mi Hong was at work, but there was no Mi Hong in it. Isn't it strange? In the entire country of sand, the blade of the Thunder Spirit in Uchiha Qiye's hands glowed blue, like a messenger of peace. As long as he passed by, it would immediately stop the fighting and stand still on the ground. And along the way, whether it was the common people, genin and shunin, they all continued to fight as if they had been hit by a demon, attacking each other. Uchiha Qiye came directly to the outside of the hall, and saw Gaara standing in the air at this moment. The sand in his hand was dancing constantly, the whole aura was full, and he kept wrapping everyone with sand to prevent them from killing each other. This purpose and effect are the same as what Uchiha Qiye wanted to achieve, so Uchiha Qiye shouted directly from below, "Gaara, what the hell is going on here?" Gaara didn't notice Uchiha Qiye at all because of his overly focused attention, and only looked down from the sky when he heard his voice. When he saw that it was world-defying man, his heart was extremely ecstatic. What he needs now is world-defying man. This kind of miraculous person once saved the Kingdom of Sand, and this time should be no exception. Gaara, who was happy in her heart, said to the arrogant after coming down from the sky, "Hero, I didn't expect you to come back again. Our country of sand is now in a very chaotic situation." At this time, Qianying also appeared in their field of vision, only to see Qianying controlling the puppet in his hand. The dense silk thread has reached. Chapter 563 Ghetto Statue. The Reign of Life. Chapter 563 Ghetto Statue. The Reign of Life. At the extreme level, looking at it with the naked eye, Qianying actually controlled tens of thousands of puppets at the same time. And these puppets are all used to hug people, so that they no longer attack each other, but there are hundreds of thousands of people in the entire country of sand. Although Qianying's ability is powerful, but it is nothing but a drop in the bucket. When Qianying saw the arrogant man, Chunin couldn't help feeling ecstatic. This man is back. Although he may not know that the arrogant can really help them, Qianying always feels that the arrogant can solve all problems, and 010 has become the hero in her heart. So Qianying roared and said, "It's the curse mark." The people of the Sand Kingdom didn't know what was going on. Suddenly, the curse mark broke out. They were attacking each other and it was not their own will at all, but someone behind them controlled it. Gaara also said, "Yes, this incident just happened not long ago. Almost all of us in the Land of Sand have been cursed. Only me, Qianying, and Jonin have not been cursed. They are all trying their best to stop others, but it doesn't seem to stop at all." Uchiha Qiye understands what's going on. Why is it like this? Doesn't the mantra need one ritual after another to be able to control a certain person? How could it be possible that the curse seal erupted all of a sudden? At this moment, Uchiha Qiye suddenly thought of something. At this time, he no longer concealed it. At the same time, he opened the eyes of the eternal Mangekyo Bloodwheel and the eternal Rinnegan, and directly saw all the truths present. I saw a thick fog permeating the country of sand, still a purple fog. The fog was full of poisonous gas, but those who did not reach the level of the Eye of Eternity could not see it at all. Advertisement in this thick poisonous gas can only attack people who are below the level of Genin. After they breathe in, they will automatically form a curse mark, which may erupt at any time. Qianying and Gaara all saw, Beta, this scene. When they saw Uchiha Kai's eyes, they seemed to realize something at once. This is simply someone from outside the sky. If there is only one Mangekyo Bloodwheel eye, or a pair of Rinnegan, possibly realize that it is a master in this world. But if you have it at the same time, then naturally it should not belong to this world, but a person outside the world. Could it be that the arrogant is so powerful and compassionate to the world, but as long as he is entangled all the way, it can be said that only the world is not for himself? This is definitely a character at the level of a god who saves all beings. So at this time Uchiha Qiye said, "Okay, I know what to do." 39. At this time, Uchiha Qiye jumped directly into the sky, formed a seal with both hands, and summoned Ghetto Statue. Seal again, Ghetto Statue, Reign of Life. I saw a huge Ghetto statue appeared in the center of the field, like a giant, and suddenly countless springs were ejected from its mouth. But this is not an ordinary spring, but an extremely powerful life-only rain, and a light green sky rain broke out at this time. The rushing rain, crystal clear, filled with a faint fragrance, sprinkled on everyone in the country of sand. Those manic and restless people, and those who were attacking each other stopped instantly. These rainwaters are extremely healing, and they are already mutual. Chapter 564 Chapter 564 Those who have been slashed, their flesh is undergoing rapid healing. Gaara and Qianying were both stunned by this scene. This is really the power of the gods, and it is not something that ordinary powerful ninjas can do. But it wasn't over at all. Uchiha Qiye released ninjutsu again, Outer Dao Dianyu, 99. These rainwater are only used so that they can stop their hands and heal themselves, but the outer world is different. I saw a fantasy like a heavenly city suddenly appeared in the sky. In this heavenly city, it rained again, and the rain violently washed everyone present. I saw that the curse marks on their bodies could no longer be hidden for a while, and they were all exposed, and they were all in the same position. The talisman of the incantation was engraved with exactly the same picture, which looked evil and ferocious. It was a hexagonal pattern, and it was faintly exuding an evil red aura on their backs. After being washed away by the heavy rain, these spell marks are gradually dissipating, and it must be known that it will not only be dissipated on the surface, but must be washed into the blood, which needs to penetrate through the skin. Therefore, the rainfall must be strong enough. After a full 10 minutes, the curse marks of all the villagers in the Land of Sand have just disappeared. But these 10 minutes are neither long nor short. Uchiha Qiye used this trick to save hundreds of thousands of people at once. If he wants to destroy hundreds of thousands of people at the same time, he may need to spend a lot of chakra, but if he wants to save them at the same time, then chakra costs even more amazing, which is enough 10 minutes have consumed all of Uchiha Kai's chakra. With a puff, Uchiha Qiye fell directly from the sky, because although his chakra was as vast as the sea, there was always a moment when it was exhausted. Uchiha Qiye sat on the ground sweating and panting. It worked. Advertisement Gaara and Qianying witnessed the whole process with their own eyes, and their awe for the arrogant became even deeper in their hearts. Because people stopped, of course they remembered what happened just now in their consciousness. They wanted to stop their actions, but they couldn't stop them at all. Couldn't bear it and couldn't stop. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 0. This is very strange. They all feel that they are in something evil, but even if they realize it, it will not help at all. Gaara and Qianying went to support Uchiha Qiye at the same time. Qianying said, "The arrogant, the crisis is over, I will take you back to rest." 0.0 But just when the people were arrogantly shouting, a more ominous aura suddenly appeared in the sky. I saw 10 people instantly came to the sky above the Land of Sand. They all wore black robes, their faces were expressionless, and they looked very cold. Everyone noticed this scene. Gaara just wanted to help the arrogant, but after seeing these uninvited guests, she seemed to realize a greater danger. Gaara said, "Who are you? Dared to come directly to our sand country?" The person in the lead was combing red hair and he said, "You are Gaara of the land of sand, aren't you?" Gaara nodded and continued, "Yes, are you here to run wild in the land of sand? Kai." Chapter 565 The powerful Wu En killed thousands of people. Chapter 565 The powerful Wu En killed thousands of people. The red-haired man sneered and said, "We will clean up your country, such a rubbish country, there is absolutely no need to survive." 35. Just after this person finished speaking, he quickly formed the seal, and a fire burst out from his seal, looking extremely fierce. And it's not just a simple fire style at all. The red-haired man, 010, shouted, "Day fire." I saw a pure red flame swept across the villagers of Sunagakure at once. The flame was so intense that the sun in the sky was stunned by this flame. Even Uchiha Qiye, the mighty heaven-defying, exclaimed in his heart, "How strong." But this day fire did not directly attack Jonin and Gaara, but directly bombarded the people he loved. Because everyone present did not realize that there was still the possibility of killing civilians, although they were not prepared, it was very late after people reacted. Between the lightning and flint, Gaara immediately issued, "Desert Funeral." A vast sandstorm directly swept the entire Sunagakure trying to protect the crowd attacked by the fire, but it was still late. The day fire had no trajectory at all, but a red, extremely hot flame shot out by the light, and with a bang, it directly roasted the hundreds of Sunagakure villagers on the field into mummified corpses. At this scene, all the villagers present in shock shouted, "Oh my god, it's terrible. Advertisement, help. Run, let's run." Countless villagers swarmed the front of the place all at once, and because of the large number of people, there were many cases of trampling. Uchiha Qiye, Gaara, and a group of Jonin were all angry against the group of people in the sky. Gaara's eyes were already scarlet, and his murderous aura suddenly rose. Looking at the people in the sky, he said, "Who are you? Why did you come to my land of sand to kill?" The red-haired head looked back at Gaara and said with a cold snort, "We are the Peak Organization team, and the purpose is very simple, to kill all the damned people who are cursed. If anyone dares to stop, then whoever will die." The person with the curse seal. Everyone is thinking about this term. What is the person with the curse seal? Are those farmers supposed to die after being hit by the curse mark? At this time, Uchiha Qiye asked, "What do you mean by the person with the curse seal?" The red-haired man looked at Uchiha Qiye arrogantly, with an air of contempt for all living beings. He said, "The so-called cursed people are human beings with hidden poisons. They are affixed with a cursed mark by an unknown force, and they attack. After that, they will attack anyone indiscriminately. If they are hit, or even just injured, the other party will also be infected with the curse, and the entire ninja world will fall into a state of death." Uchiha Qiye and Gaara suddenly understood. It turned out to be so terrifying after being hit with the curse seal, but last time Qianying was also hit with the curse 3.0 seal and fought with Uchiha Qiye. Why is Uchiha Qiye unscathed? At this time, Uchiha Qiye thought that the reason is very simple, that is, Qianying couldn't hurt him at all. Gaara roared angrily, "Just now we have removed the curse marks on their bodies. You are killing innocents indiscriminately." Gaara's hands nodded. Chapter 566 Your purifying spell is useless. Chapter 566 Your purifying spell is useless. Directly used a level ninjutsu, Desert Thorn. 35. There was a loud bang, and the surrounding desert moved faintly, from which several water chestnut-shaped sands were selected, and suddenly spun. Their hardness was comparable to that of steel, and suddenly rushed directly to the crowd. And this group of people in the Peak Organization team seems to be more powerful than each other, and one of the men made a seal with both hands at the same time, wood style, everywhere. Sen Luowan 14 elephants? Isn't this S-rank ninjutsu? It's unbelievable that such a powerful ninjutsu appears in a completely unknown organization. Numerous big trees drilled out of the ground, which looked magnificent, directly resisting the impact of the desert thorns, stopped. Until now, Gaara didn't know how powerful the opponent was. The redhead said, "Remember, my name is Wu En. You must hear everything I said just now. These people will definitely continue to fight because of the curse mark. They're like viruses. If they don't get rid of them, absolutely it will infect more people. Do you think it is truly purified? No." As the leader Wu En's voice just fell, the villagers who had fled suddenly shouted again. Then came the sound of murder, and blood flowed. This scene directly shocked Gaara, Uchiha Qiye, and all the Jonin. Advertisement. How is it possible? Even though the curse has been completely purified, why are these people slashing and killing each other like crazy? This is something that can't be imagined anyway. Gaara watched this scene in shock, but she immediately gave the order, "Go and stop them." As soon as the order was given, a group of Jonin rushed over. Standing in the sky, Wu En looked at Gaara and said, "The shadow of the Kingdom of Sand, have you seen it now? All your efforts are in vain. Those curse marks have penetrated deep into their bones and will never be removed. Yes, you know that once, and they'll be reinfected on the festering wounds, and then controlled by the spell again." Qianying remembered that she was under the control of the curse, but after disappearing, there was nothing abnormal, so she asked, "Then I was controlled by the curse before, why didn't I have it again?" Wu En looked at Qianying and said, "Did you get hurt last time? You don't even have any skin injuries, right?" Qianying recalled for a moment, and it was indeed the case. She was knocked unconscious by the arrogant, but there was no wound at all, not to mention the arrogant, and she was not injured at all. Seeing that Qianying didn't speak, Wu En continued to say, "Oh 10. That's because you were lucky. You ended the control of the curse mark when you were not injured and the other party was not injured, but what about them?" Wu En pointed with his hand. "All of them are injured. No matter how big or small the wounds are, they will be infected by circulation. At this time, all of our Sanagakure villagers have become infected viruses. They are a group of bacteria. We must quickly clear it up." Gaara and Uchiha Qiye were speechless for a while. It seems that this person really said so what can we do? So Uchiha Qiye said, "Murderer Wu En, even if it is the truth." Chapter 567 Uchiha Qiye Haki fully deterred the audience. Chapter 567 Uchiha Qiye Haki fully deterred the audience. "You killed these people without permission, and you must also die to apologize." Wu En looked at the strange man below. They had never encountered anyone who challenged them while they were walking on the rivers and lakes. Even if they did, they would have been killed long ago. So Wu En said, "Weak bug, you have no right to judge me at all. Everything I do is righteous. Not to mention killing this group of people who have already been infected, even killing the entire ninja world is clearing it up. Sen. This is the first time that Uchiha Qiye has encountered someone so ruthless, and the situation has been faked by others." So Uchiha Qiye got angry. "Do you know who you are talking to?" Wu En snorted coldly and said, "What's the matter? I don't care who you are, even if the shadows of each country are in battle. Our team has no stage fright at all." 35. In fact, Uchiha Qiye said this as a test, because once the person said his name was Uchiha Qiye, then he would not be able to pretend. Since this person does not know that he is Uchiha Qiye, it can be eradicated, but there is also a very important point. It cannot be ruled out that this person is a subordinate of Mihong until now. Otherwise, how could he come to the land of sand with such precision? This is where he just left. Another important point is why there are so many psychedelic and evil auras that mislead him to run around, not just for the sake of it. Cover up the killing of Sanagakure in the land of sand? Advertisement Uchiha Qiye said, "These people, we will find a way to deal with them. You can come down now and die." The red-haired Wu En has a violent temper. Seeing that a nameless swinger like Uchiha Qiye is so arrogant, he must be taught a lesson. "What's your name? Aoshishin, right? I'll let you know how the word, dead, is written." 99. After Wu En finished saying this, a red sky fire technique immediately bombed over, and Uchiha Qiye didn't move at all in the face of such a powerful ninjutsu. He stretched out his palm directly, facing the sky, and the sun skyfire slapped. With a bang, the huge power was directly broken and scattered, as if it was tickling. Uchiha Qiye said, "You are so weak that you really don't deserve to fight with me. If I go up to fight you, then you will die without all your corpses. If you come down and die, I promise you will die happily. So simple." 95. Such Haki's incomparable words made the team in the sky directly into a speechless fight. They have indeed seen powerful opponents, but when facing the triple A level skyfire technique, any ninja must do their best to block it. Take this hit. But this strange arrogant in front of him actually broke his breath with a slap. From this point of view, his strength should not be underestimated. The brief silence made Wu En's team hesitant, because they still felt that this was a special ninja who had strong resistance to fire-style spells, so could it be easily defeated if they were replaced by other ones? What about? Otherwise, there is no reason at all, there is no reason for it. So Wu En said directly to the little member who knew wood style, "Jingjing, Zuma, use wood style for him." Chapter 568 The strongest wood style, stun everyone. Chapter 568 The strongest wood style, stun everyone. In fact, Zuma is already ready to go, and this time he will definitely not deal with the arrogant so easily. He must kill him with the highest level of wood style. Zuma made a seal on both hands, and it took 2 full seconds. This is an S-class wood style. Wood style. Day of the Wood Ox. I saw countless tree crowns rushing out from the earth, and finally combined into a super spear, and in the middle of this spear flashed the brilliance of the sun. Uchiha Qiye knew that this was the S-rank wood style, the most offensive ninjutsu among wood styles. But what about 010? Any kind of ninjutsu, Uchiha Qiye is the grandmaster of all. Isn't it the day of the wooden cow? He wants to show everyone what is called the strongest wood style. Uchiha Qiye formed the seal immediately, and the seal was formed in an instant. The layman sees the popular, and the expert sees the doorway. The speed of this second generation of seals is almost unheard of among today's ninjas, except for the second generation ninjas in Konoha village. What kind of guy is this person, who can make a seal in seconds? Even the so-called Golden Glitter, Naruto's father, is not so fast at all. During this period, people, beta, thought that this was just a small ninjutsu, otherwise it would be unreasonable to be so fast, because the stronger the power, the slower the ninjutsu needed to seal the seal. But at this moment, the name of the spell that Uchiha Qiye called out directly killed them, shocking everyone. Uchiha Qiye said, "Wood style, Senluo Tianzheng." Advertisement Senluo Tianzheng. Isn't this the unique skill of the strongest wood style, Konoha's first generation ninja? This is more than S-rank wood style, it is simply super S wood style. Both offensive and defensive power have reached the peak of forbearance technique. I saw innumerable big trees suddenly sprang up from the earth, and they suddenly covered the sky. The innumerable numbers seemed to form the senju of the bodhisattva, facing the fragile wooden cow, rushed over. In an instant, the day of the wooden cow was like a fragile little toy, and it was instantly dissipated by Senluo Tianzheng, and the hands composed of countless pairs of trees hit Zuma at once. Every inch of Zuma's body, every corner was hit by Uchiha Kai's Senluo Tianzheng, and Zuma was smashed to pieces in one fell swoop, and he didn't even have a human shape. All the people in Wu En's team watched this scene in shock, not only Wu En's team, but even Gaara, and all the Jonin when they saw this scene, they all exclaimed in their hearts that the world is arrogant. Zuma's fragmented body, piece by piece, rolled down like pieces. Wu En and his team shouted together, Zuma. The sorrowful voice could not stop for a long time. Uchiha Qiye said, what I just said is very clear, either you come down and die, and I leave you all corpses, or fight with me on it, and I promise that you will die in pieces. After he finished speaking, an extremely domineering aura rushed out, making everyone present tremble. At this moment, Wu En realized the power of this arrogant man in front of him, because they have never seen such a strong opponent for so many years. Wu En calmed down at the moment, and he asked, what is your name? Of course Uchiha Qiye will not reveal himself. Chapter 569 Wu En's Trick. Let everyone fall for it. Chapter 569 Wu En's Trick. Let everyone fall for it. Still using his best name, I am a world arrogant, a wandering swordsman, no family and no school. 35. Although everyone around him doesn't believe what he said, even he himself doesn't believe it, so what? At this time, Wu En said, I don't believe it, you must be a certain character, and you are hiding your name in this place, but I tell you, we will definitely imprison your soul in the endless abyss, so that you will never be born again. Speaking of this, Uchiha Qiye suddenly remembered one thing, and that is why this group of people knew about the existence of the curse, isn't it suspicious? Why did this kind of thing just break out in the Kingdom of Sand, and this so-called Wu En team rushed over? So Uchiha Qiye said, don't ask who I am, I will ask you, why do you understand the spell so well? Wu En said, of course I understand, that is the curse of natural disasters from Lord Mihong. He wants to make the whole world fall into endless plagues and mutual killings. 5. Lord Mihong. Uchiha Qiye understands when he hears the name. It turns out that all these people are Mihong's subordinates, but there is one thing Uchiha Qiye can't understand, that is, since they are Mihong's subordinates, why not let the plague break out, but want to kill the person who has been hit by the curse and stop the plague from now on? This obviously doesn't make sense. Before Uchiha Qiye could ask a question, a sudden change occurred in the battlefield. The Jonin, who were controlling the villagers to kill each other, suddenly attacked each other. Their eyes were empty, as if they were cursed by something. As long as they saw any living creature, they were bound to kill. Advertisement Qianying was the first to notice this scene, and she shouted, not good. Our Jonins are actually attacking each other, are they also infected? It doesn't make sense at all. Gaara has been stunned. How is this possible? At this moment, Wu En finally burst out laughing, ha ha ha, you guys are tricked, only by killing these lowly cursed creatures, will there be a thicker plague air, even if you smell it, you will be cursed. Influence, confuse and even join the army controlled by the curse. Uchiha Qiye finally understood this time. He opened his eyes of eternity and saw the truth at once. It turned out that this group of people killed civilians on such a large scale in order to spread the plague and infect more people. For flowers. Zero Uchiha Qiye roared, damn you people. Mihong's cold eyes stared at Uchiha Qiye tightly, and said cruelly, so what? Do you really think you can kill so many of our allies alone? 0.0 As soon as he mentioned the alliance, all the villagers who were affected by the curse seal, Genin, Chunin, and even hundreds of Jonin, suddenly turned around and stared at the three Uchiha Qiye. Now they can understand that this is a conspiracy, and all the people of Snagakure, the country of sand, are turned against. Gaara said, not good. The breath of the plague will also sweep us, even if we fight against them, then we will become puppets controlled by the curse, hurry up with me. Gaara directly launched, Sand Ninjutsu, Sandstorm Tianmu. Suddenly, 3 fists of sand appeared in the air, only holding Gaara, Uchiha Qiye. Chapter 570 The Collective Mutiny of the Kingdom of Sand, the Ruthless Curse Seal Plague. Chapter 570 The Collective Mutiny of the Kingdom of Sand, the Ruthless Curse Seal Plague. And Qianying 3 people. Then the sandstorm once again formed a huge wall, tightly wrapping the palace behind. In an instant, Gaara used this trick to drag the 3 of them in, and the entire palace was surrounded by a thick sandstorm, and no one would come in alone. After the 3 people came in, Uchiha Qiye said, 010, it turns out that this group of people playing yin, those who were cursed, all became the puppets of Wu En's team in an instant. To be precise, it was Mihong's puppet. Gaara's brain freezes all of a sudden, because the amount of information is simply too much. He asks, who the hell is Mihong? How come I've never heard the name? In fact, Qianying knows Mihong's name, because Uchiha Qiye told Qianying about Mihong in a dream, but he said it more euphemistically. Uchiha Qiye said, this is a long story, he used to be my defeated general, but he didn't die. Now his goal is to destroy the entire ninja world. People have always been dragons, but I still remember the dam in the middle of the night. Any other fight at cage level nearby? It was actually a fight between me and Mihong, but he escaped. Uchiha Qiye said this. Gaara and Qianying recalled everything at once. It was true that Anbu was investigating at that time, but there was no trace of it at all. It turned out to be the battle between Arrogant and Mihong. Qianying said, what can we do now? We can't fight the infected outside the door. Even if we fight, they're our old folks, but if we don't fight, this sandstorm will break up sooner or later. We have to find a way. While Qianying was speaking, many Jonin and villagers were attacking Gaara's solid sandstorm shield with all their might. Advertisement Gaara kept replenishing the energy of the sandstorm. In this case, it is definitely not a long-term solution. Once the door is broken, all 3 people inside will be infected with the curse. Just when a few people were at a loss, Wu En said, the arrogant inside, listen carefully, aren't you going to tear us to pieces? Let me tell you, we will turn you into zombies without consciousness and thoughts, and imprison your soul forever, and suffer eternal pain. After finishing speaking, the group of infected people of the Sand Kingdom attacked Gaara's sandstorm even more frantically. Suddenly, Uchiha Qiye thought of a solution, and he said, Qianying, don't you know puppet art? Puppets don't need to breathe at all, and they are not afraid of the outside environment at all. Can you give it a try? Qianying nodded and said, the puppet is indeed not afraid, but I need to use the silk thread to control the puppet. We are so tightly fitted here that the puppet can't be released at all. 35. Uchiha Qiye was so anxious, thinking that he was wise, is he going to fall into trouble here? Just when everyone was at a loss, all of a sudden, everyone outside stopped moving for a while, so 3.0 seemed to be immobilized. Uchiha Qiye inside the door as well as Qianying and Gaara have no idea why this is happening? Wu En shouted first, stop what, hurry up and attack. But no matter how he called out, these tens of thousands of people didn't move at all. Suddenly, a black warrior who couldn't see his body fell from the sky and directly hacked a woman in the last position of Wu En's team. Chapter 571 Is this the mother-in-law Chiyo? Chapter 571 Is this the mother-in-law Chiyo? Everyone present was stunned, and no one expected such a strange phenomenon to occur. The machete in the black warrior's hand still exudes a cold luster, like a god of war falling from the sky. With the knife in his hand, the woman who hadn't said a word and hadn't shown her strength yet was cut into two halves with one knife. Such a mutation has caused Uchiha Qiye, Gaara and Qianying to stay in the same place for 14 years. No one knows how all this happened. I saw that the samurai suddenly continued to attack the remaining three-person group, but after it was discovered, it could no longer have the effect of a sneak attack. Wu En was attacked by the samurai after shouting the name of the girl. Chopping is overwhelmed. After the three people exerted their own abilities, they finally managed to control the samurai, and the battle situation entered an anxious stage. At this moment, Qianying suddenly widened her eyes and said, this is, mother-in-law Chiyo. Although the voice was very low, Uchiha Qiye and Gaara could hear them clearly. Granny Chiyo, the legendary puppet originator, has been wandering around the world for many years, and no one knows her whereabouts, but she appeared at this critical moment. Already. Wu En also saw the silk thread that controlled the samurai, frowned and said, could it be a character who was good at using puppet art? Qianying obviously has no chance in it, so in today's world, the person with such a powerful ability should be the mother-in-law Chiyo. After being seen through by the enemy, Granny Chiyo naturally had no reason to hide, so she walked out from a hidden corner. Advertisement. As soon as she walked out, everyone was shocked. I saw her hunched over, with a calm demeanor and strong eyes. Although her skin had already slackened due to her old age, she still looked very healthy. This is not a shocking thing, but the mother-in-law Chiyo can see from the outside that the entire body is controlled by machinery, whether it is the limbs, the body, only the head is a real person. In other words, Grandma Chiyo has completely transformed herself into a robot, and even she herself has become a part of the puppet, and she has become the most accomplished person in puppet art. Granny Chiyo said, this country of sand is where I grew up and grown up. You can't make trouble here. The country of sand will not tolerate you at all. If you are acquainted with each other, you should kill yourself quickly, or you will die very ugly. 99. When Uchiha Qiye heard this, it was like hockey, but mother-in-law Chiyo also had the capital of hockey, because her strength was really strong, she was able to compete with S-level shadow ninjas, and even 010 could play against multiple shadow ninjas at the same time. Such a tyrannical strength does not have the mentality of chasing fame and fortune, and loves peace and natural landscapes more, so the mother-in-law Chiyo has always been well known. Wu En swallowed. He knew how tyrannical the character in front of him was, but he felt that his ability was also very strong, and it was not necessarily that the three of them joined forces, nor was this old woman's opponent. Wu En said, Mother-in-law Qiandai, the times have changed, we know that you are strong, but the present is not what it used to be, and it is not that we have no way to crack your puppet technique. Granny Chiyo said with a sneer, just you few. Chapter 572 Extremely Sophisticated Chakra Control Ability. Chapter 572 Extremely Sophisticated Chakra Control Ability. I still know Mao's ability in my heart, you can't fight 3 rounds at all. Uchiha Qiye was watching from inside the door. She had countless silk threads in her hand. She seemed very powerful and controlled the entire scene. The tens of thousands of Sunagaku people outside had been firmly controlled. How much strength it takes for a person to have such a powerful control force, to be able to control tens of thousands of people and make them stop moving. And that's not enough, this group of people didn't even move their facial muscles, not just the body, but everything about the whole person. Possibility. At this time, Uchiha Qiye thought to himself, no wonder Granny Chiyo is not afraid at all. The reason is actually very simple, that is, Granny Chiyo's body has been completely mechanized, and those poisonous gas is completely immune to her, because she don't even need to breathe. Without the burden and entanglement of her body, she is already invincible. It is impossible for her to be poisoned, and it is even less likely that she will be imbued with a curse, and she can only be defeated by melee combatants. For such a powerful person, Uchiha Qiye's admiration has risen in his heart, even if he is so strong, he may not be able to survive this battle, and the reason is very simple. Because no matter how strong Uchiha Qiye is, he is also a physical body and needs to breathe. As long as there is still a breath, It is impossible not to breathe, then breathing will inhale these poisonous gas, which will automatically form a curse mark in the body. At that time, Mi Hong would be self-defeating and become a puppet of Mi Hong's subordinates, which is simply an extremely insidious thing. Advertisement. Wu En said, "Old woman, since you want to die so much, we will accompany you on the road." At this time, Wu En burst into a powerful force, and after the seal was formed, a fierce fire descended from the sky and directly bombarded the mother-in-law Chiyo. Behind them are wind-style chakra Fengming and water-style chakra Mizukage. These two are also the most powerful ninjas in Wu En's team. When these three people are together, no matter where they go, they can set off a storm of blood and blood. The combined strength is even stronger. It's really not necessarily who loses or wins when dealing with the mother-in-law Chiyo. At this time, the water-style chakra ninja Mizukage, condensed in the shape of an ice crystal in his hand, smashed it directly at Chiyo's mother-in-law, and the wind-style chakra was even more exaggerated. Even Naruto's moves can be known. Big Jade Top Ball. Three very rare and powerful moves attacked Granny Chiyo directly, but the latter's expression was calm, as if these attacks would not cause any damage to her at all. Just looking at her fingers moving a little, the dense silk threads began to wriggle crazily. I saw more than a dozen warriors, like the most important guards, instantly placed in front of her. This group of warriors held huge shields in their hands and wrapped the mother-in-law Chiyo with 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside, forming a solid defense. Boom! With a bang, the 3 attacks hit the puppet controlled by Grandma Chiyo, and all of them were washed away at once. It can be said that this move is considered a 555, and 1,000 generations of mother-in-law's place. Chapter 573 You Can't Spoil My Plan. Chapter 573 You Can't Spoil My Plan. Some puppets were bombarded to pieces, and those 3 people did not succeed at all. After this encounter, everyone felt almost each other's strength. Of course, everyone did not fully show their true strength. Granny Chiyo said, "If there is anything else, take it out, otherwise, I will end up with you soon." Wu En didn't pay any attention to Granny Chiyo's words, but just looked back at the completely controlled crowd, and said with a sneer, "I don't have time to accompany you to continue fighting." After finishing speaking, the group of people all jumped in the air, and mother-in-law Chiyo and the 3 people in the door seemed to realize something at once. Wu En said, "Even if you can fight, what's the use? It's still impossible to sabotage our plan." After he finished speaking, he released the ninjutsu just now, but the momentum was even greater, and it seemed impossible to resist. The hatred in Uchiha Qiye's heart is very strong. This group of people did not fight against the mother-in-law Chiyo, but attacked the innocent people, wanting them to die a few more. Isn't this cruel and inhumane killing? In fact, it is no longer necessary to think like this. After all, this Wu En team is under Mi Hong. Destroying the world has always been their goal. But things. At this time, the 3 of them had formed the ninja handprints in their hands, and suddenly a huge energy gathered together and released it towards the crowd. Advertisement. Gaara, who was in the room, can be said to be a typical person who loves the people like a child, and roared, "No." But his roars couldn't stop these madmen at all. Granny Chiyo saw such a dangerous situation. Although she had the wind of Admiral and was calm in the face of danger, she was also shocked by the madness of this group of people. The mother-in-law Chiyo, Beta, has been controlled by excessive chakra and physical strength, but the chakra of the mother-in-law of Chiyo is limited, but it still bursts with amazing power at this moment. At this moment, Chiyo's mother-in-law released the seal, Puppet Secret Art, King of the Desert. The King of the Desert. I have never heard of this ninjutsu. Is it a stunt that belongs to the mother-in-law Chiyo? No one has seen the use and application of this technique. At this time, right in front of the mother-in-law Chiyo, a huge puppet emerged from the ground, holding a huge shield in her hand. Everyone was covered in it. Fortunately, it was very timely, and after covering the group of people, the powerful attack landed in an instant. With a bang, the shield was directly supported, trying to disintegrate this powerful attack, but the impact of the attack was so strong that the shield was about to shatter. But as their impact force increased, the shield shattered with a bang, and most of the powerful attacks had been excavated, but there was still a small portion of the power that would directly kill the nearby residents. If this power is sustained, it will probably cause dozens of casualties. But at this moment, Chenying, who was originally in an uneasy mood and was very nervous watching all this, rushed directly from the door, releasing the puppet in his hand, all of a sudden. Chapter 574 Chenying's Sacrifice Spirit is Touching. Chapter 574 Chenying's Sacrifice Spirit is Touching. It collided with the remaining chakra power. With a bang, chakra, which Wu En's team finally assembled, was completely disintegrated by the combined efforts of Chiyo and Chiyo. But at this moment, Chenying had completely exposed herself, and everyone was very surprised. Granny Chiyo looked back at Chenying, and said anxiously, "Chenying, how did you get out?" Chenying knew that she was going to die this time, so with tears in her eyes, she said, "There is no way. Since I was little, my mother-in-law told me to sacrifice myself for others. If I die, I can exchange for the survival of hundreds of people. I am willing." At this moment, both Gaara and Uchiha Qiye have the utmost respect for Chenying. This woman is always so surprising and respectable. Sacrifice yourself and fulfill others. This kind of spirit is moving. Chiyo's mother-in-law not only did not continue to blame and criticize, but said, "Good granddaughter, if this is the case, we will fight side by side and fight them to the end in the final journey of life." Although everyone was surprised when they saw this scene, Wu En really laughed wildly. He said, "Chenying, Do you think you are still qualified to fight with us? Once you inhale the poisonous gas, it is absolutely impossible to fight with us. We fight, but will be assimilated and become one of our pawns. As soon as the voice fell, Shenying already felt that something was wrong. Presumably she had already inhaled the poisonous gas, and the uncomfortable feeling kept hitting her. This feeling was very frightening. Shenying had been hit by a spell seal before, and she was very familiar with the feeling of the spell seal. She suddenly felt that some power was constantly flowing in her extraordinary meridians and 8 meridians. She wanted to suppress it with the thick chakra, but it was ineffective at all. Advertisement. In the end, a curse mark was formed on her back very quickly. And this whole process takes only a few tens of seconds, so this super cursed virus, even a character as powerful as Shenying can be easily corroded and infected. Looking at the entire ninja world, if this virus is spread on a large scale, if it breaks out, it will definitely become a wake-up call for the end of the world. At this moment, Shenying's eyes changed greatly, becoming very dull, as if her soul was drained and she became a machine on standby. Her eyes were very similar to the group of people below. Katakana middle dot 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 0. Wu En continued to laugh wildly, and he said, Shenying, attack the mother-in-law Chiyo. This is an order, you must obey my order. 35. At this time, Shenying's dull eyes turned to look back at Chiyo's mother-in-law, who had completely become a manipulated puppet. 0. But Uchiha Qiye noticed that there was still light in Shenying's eyes, and the power of her soul still refused to succumb to this power. Shenying's fingers moved, and countless threads of silk appeared towards her, which was a sign that the battle was about to begin. Chiyo's mother-in-law was very distressed at this time. Her most beloved granddaughter was going to fight against her. Although Shenying was unconscious, she couldn't accept this cruel and inhuman scene. If Shenying attacks Granny Chiyo, then Granny Chiyo can only run, or control Shenying, otherwise it is absolutely impossible to fight back. After all, this is her own bloodline. Thousands of shadows of thousands of threads. Chapter 575 The Dying Shenying. The weakness of the mother-in-law Chiyo. Chapter 575 The Dying Shenying. The weakness of the mother-in-law Chiyo. Among them, Chakra was frantic, and he was about to attack, but at this critical moment, Granny Chiyo suddenly controlled Chiyo. But after all, it was a unique civil war, and each other was very clear about each other's moves, so Shenying directly used the consciousness control steel wire to directly smash the control of Chiyo's mother-in-law, and once again was able to move freely. 027. No one thought of this scene. After that, people thought that Shenying was going to attack the mother-in-law Chiyo, but the next scene was something that no one could imagine. Shenying suddenly summoned thousands of armors. This is what Shenying must learn, but Shenying's eyes regained clarity at this moment, but it was only this moment. Shenying said, Mother-in-law, I can't control myself, I must die. 95. After he finished speaking, he bit his lip ruthlessly, and the 1,000 armors blasted directly at Shenying. Boom. Shenying was directly beaten with scars all over her body, and finally lay on the ground, dying. Dying in this way was something that no one could have imagined, and Wu En was stunned to see this scene. The spell can completely control the brain and the flow of chakra, and Shenying's soul force is so powerful, it is comparable to heaven-defying, and it can recover for a second under the control of the spell. Being awake is already hard to come by. And Shenying actually took advantage of this moment to commit suicide directly, which shocked everyone present. Advertisement. Chiyo's mother-in-law immediately raised her head and screamed, No. You can't do this. When Uchiha Qiye saw this scene, his heart was full of grief and anger. He couldn't accept this scene at all. What a lovely and strong girl Shenying is, this is someone Uchiha Qiye feels a little favored. How could you be forced to commit suicide like this? He couldn't accept it. So Uchiha Qiye also gave up all the time. He opened his eyes directly, one was Eternal Mangekyo Blood Wheel Eye, and the other was Eternal Rinnegan, the whole person's aura became incomparably powerful. He suddenly thought of a way, if people are under the protection of Susanoo, those poisonous gases can't penetrate him at all. Because Uchiha Qiye just learned it, he didn't think about it at all, but now he finally thinks about it, he can rush out and break through the siege. Chiyo's mother-in-law had already cried to tears, and the two of them looked at each other, but Qian Ying was suffocated immediately, and finally Qian Ying said, Mother-in-law Chiyo, live well, Qian Ying will take the first step. After finishing speaking, Shenying closed her eyes, and the chakra all over her body was rapidly dissipating, which proved that her vitality had come to an end. Uchiha Qiye was also sad in his heart. He turned to look at Gaara. Gaara was also very sad, but when he saw that Uchiha Qiye had a pair of top-level eyes at the same time, he was still shocked. Uchiha Qiye said, Gaara, let's go out, I have a way. Although 3.0 Gaara didn't know what to do for a while, but he trusted Uchiha Qiye very much. This man can always protect the entire Sand Country like a god at critical moments. Gaara didn't talk nonsense, and said directly, okay. Then let's go out. 9. At this moment, Gaara suddenly completely put down the Sandstorm Guardian, the entire palace. Chapter 576 The Strongest Susanoo appears again. Chapter 576 The Strongest Susanoo appears again. The desert was all slackened, and 2 people walked out from it. Because Chenying died in battle, this has already aroused public anger. In fact, mother-in-law Chiyo not only loves the kingdom of sand deeply, but also loves Chenying more. Chenying was threatened with her life, and the mother-in-law of Chiandai must come out to save her and fight against Wu En's team. But things backfired. At this time Chenying actually died like this. After Uchiha Qiye came out, he also had a face full of anger. It has been a long time. Except when facing Mi Hong, he has hardly had any murderous intentions, but this time, the murderous intentions are extremely powerful, because the crowd has deeply touched the bottom line. One eye of Uchiha Qiye is eternal Mangekyo blood wheel eye, and one eye is eternal Rinnegan. If there is a white eye, it is a god-like existence. Even if it does not, it is a rampant existence in the ninja world. Originally, Wu En was still wondering why Uchiha Qiye and Gaara had been huddled inside and couldn't come out. Isn't it good? Why did they suddenly come out now? The scene when Uchiha Qiye appeared shocked the audience. Wu En said tremblingly, you are you? Uchiha Qiye in this state will definitely be recognized, but there is no need to hide it. The reason is very simple, that is, Gaara will never tell this secret, and the Wu En trio will inevitably die. The rest of the people who were controlled in the land of sand were also confused and didn't know what was going on here. So what does Uchiha Qiye have to hide? Advertisement. So Uchiha Qiye said to Wu En, yes, I am Uchiha Qiye, and today is the day of your death. After Uchiha Qiye opened his eyes, he could clearly see how the curse sign virus spread, and it was about to spread to him and Gaara. Uchiha Qiye lowered his head and said to mother-in-law Chiyo, old woman, I'll kill them. Avenge Chenying. He knew that the mother-in-law Chiyo at this time was already in great grief. After losing her relatives, no one could recover. Moreover, the mother-in-law Chiyo had a very deep affection for Chenying. Just don't care anymore. Uchiha Qiye made a seal with both hands, and when he released the strongest Susanoo for the first time, he made a seal for 2 seconds. What does 2 seconds mean? Even the super complex S-rank ninjutsu, here in Uchiha Qiye, it only takes less than half a second to finish the seal. This proves that the complexity of the super strong Susanoo is extremely high, because it needs to cooperate with the interaction between the 027 blood wheel eye and the white eye, so the speed of releasing the curse mark may take more time, and the complexity is also higher than the average level. S-rank ninjutsu more than 1,000 times. If it is an ordinary Jonin release, it will take about 10 seconds or more. For the ever-changing battle, there is no chance at all. Therefore, the speed of the seal is a crucial point, and it is an important point that can even decide the victory or defeat in the battle. This time, Uchiha Qiye made a huge improvement over the previous time, and it only took 1 second to complete the seal successfully. The strongest Susanoo. With a bang, the extremely spectacular visual effects unfolded like this, and only one was seen. Chapter 577 The fighting power of the golden armored god of war covers the sky and the sun. Chapter 577 The fighting power of the golden armored god of war covers the sky and the sun. A very huge golden armored god of war rose from the ground. Unlike ordinary Susanoo, which was covered in purple light, Uchiha Qiye's strongest Susanoo actually bloomed with golden light. This kind of strength is incomprehensible at all. Uchiha Qiye put Gaara, Chiyo's mother-in-law and Chikage's corpses into Susanoo at the same time, so that there will be no weakness in the fight. And in Susanoo, it can represent absolute security, because the defense is almost invincible, and nothing can penetrate Susanoo's defense. Uchiha Qiye said, as I said, your time to die has come. Wu En thought he was someone who had seen the big world, but he had never seen this kind of world before. He had indeed seen the power of Susanoo, but such a super powerful Susanoo, a god of war with a strong aura all over his body, was not at all. Haven't seen it. You can feel the huge difference in strength between them without fighting, which is something Wu En has never experienced before. Wu En said, Uchiha Qiye, I will walk around the world with the news that you have become a lackey in the land of sand, and tell the entire ninja world of your true strength. Your family is the only one, and you will definitely be besieged by all the ninja worlds. Just wait and see. After finishing speaking, Wu En will take advantage of the situation to escape. Even with the remaining 2 people who are already frightened, they have no idea of fighting at all, and they will rush out following Wu En's direction. Uchiha Qiye snorted coldly and said, want to run now? I tell you, it's too late. 99. Uchiha Qiye's Susanoo, with a Zangetsu sword in his hand, was ready to attack, and he performed the strongest example, half-moon slash. With a bang, the power of destroying Kulasho suddenly burst out. This is hundreds of thousands of times stronger than any tailed beast bomb power, and its lethality can destroy the power of a country. Wu En looked back, his eyes widened, he couldn't believe that this guy whose defense had perverted was so aggressive, how could it be possible? In this way, even Mi Hong might not be this guy's opponent. It's really their fault that they were careless and didn't recognize that it was Uchiha Qiye from the beginning. The huge half-moon slash directly ran towards Wu En and the 3 of them, ignoring their defenses, and instantly a golden light slashed over, and with a bang, the 3 of them instantly vanished into ashes, leaving not even a bit of bone scum. Uchiha Qiye is very satisfied that this is the strongest Susanoo, with both offense and defense, he is simply invincible. Gaara was shocked when she saw such a scene. It has been many years, and she has never seen such a powerful force. This Uchiha Qiye is a person from Konoha village and an elder of the Uchiha family. With such a powerful force, he can be a Hokage, how could he be subservient and only be an elder? Gaara doesn't understand, maybe Uchiha Qiye has bigger ambitions. Wu En's team has been completely eliminated, and the immediate crisis has been lifted, but there are still hundreds of thousands of villagers in the Sand Country still under control. As long as the mother-in-law Chiyo relaxes a little, then this group of people will fall into the trap again. A swarm of attacks. Chapter 578 The Magic of Rinnegan. Eliminate all the poison of the curse. Chapter 578 The Magic of Rinnegan. Eliminate all the poison of the curse. Gaara and Uchiha Qiye are in the middle of the battle, and they will never die. There is no way, they have been implanted with orders, and now they, unless they know the curse mark, are just a group of walking dead. After the mother-in-law Chiyo stopped crying just now, she found that Wu En's team had been killed, which was regarded as ending a period of hatred in her heart. But Chenying couldn't come back to life. At this time, mother-in-law Chiyo seemed to have made up her mind. She said to Uchiha Qiye, "Is there any way you can remove their curse?" Uchiha Qiye knew this 027 times that he couldn't use Rain of Life, a technique that only heals the surface but not the root. It looks like Rinnegan will be activated this time to give it a try. Uchiha Qiye said, "I'm not sure I can lift their spell, but I'm willing to give it a try." Granny Chiyo said, "It's better to hurry up, I can't last long as an old woman." Gaara is about to kneel, whether it's the performance of Chiyo's mother-in-law or Uchiha Qiye's performance has surpassed his cognition as a ninja. Uchiha Qiye does not need to say more, the real beta power is obvious to all, and the mother-in-law Chiyo used one person to control hundreds of thousands of silk threads and control all the people below. How vast is this chakra? This is simply amazing, and even if the energy of the mother-in-law Chiyo is infinite, it is impossible to continue to consume it like this, even if the massive amount of chakra will be emptied one day. Advertisement. Gaara suddenly felt that perhaps his shadow tolerance seemed a little inappropriate, so he might as well give it to Chiyo's mother-in-law directly. Uchiha Qiye said, "Mother-in-law Chiyo, I will try it with Rinnegan and see if a miracle will happen." After finishing speaking, Uchiha Qiye turned eternal Rinnegan, and suddenly a Gedo statue appeared in front of everyone. The size of Gedo statue is comparable to that of the strongest Susanoo. The two behemoths stood together. Uchiha Qiye released ninjutsu with both hands and said, "Rinnegan, heavenly hand strength." Hearing a rumbling sound, a big hand appeared in the sky, and Gedo statue also opened a huge mouth. And these big hands have a miraculous sense of turning their hands into clouds and covering their hands into rain. When they flipped their hands, they saw the frenzied virus in the entire arena frantically emerge towards the palms of their hands. The rumbling sound became louder and louder, and the blood-red curse imprint virus directly dyed the heavenly hand force red, and finally all the curse imprints on everyone present were sucked clean. The palm of Tianshuli rushed to the huge mouth of Gedo statue again, and the power of the curse was completely swallowed by Gedo statue. It lasted about 10 minutes before and after, and all the cursed viruses were absorbed. All of a sudden, Tianshuli and Gedo statue disappeared at the same time. At this time, Uchiha Qiye's Susanoo couldn't maintain his shape at all, and several people fell down at the same time, but they were all caught by Gaara's sandstorm. Uchiha Qiye was already panting, sweat dripping from his forehead, because the consumption of chakra was simply too great. It is a super strong Susanoo again, and it has to control the heavenly hand and Gedo statue. Every second of time is a huge consumption. This time, Uchiha Qiye realized the importance of the amount of chakra and seemed to think about it. Chapter 579 Mother-in-law Chiyo teaches her own reincarnation. Chapter 579 Mother-in-law Chiyo teaches her own reincarnation. Method improved. At this moment, all the people present were awake, and a sense of enlightenment made them conscious. What's the matter? What just happened? I seem to have had a dream, a terrible dream, in which we were attacking each other. I didn't dream, I forgot anything that happened. Just when people were gradually awakening, someone suddenly said, "What's going on here? There are so many corpses around." After this person's reminder, Gaara, as the shadow ninja of the Sand Kingdom, must come out and preside over the overall situation. Gaara said, "Listen everyone. Just now, all of our villagers were cursed, and you did things that you couldn't control without knowing it, and Jonin was also poisoned. It's all Uchiha. No, Mr. Pride and Mother Chiyo saved us." 35. Advertisement. Now, Jonin, clean up the corpse. Gaara's words were very simple and clear, and all the key points were clearly stated, and Jonin immediately entered the state of work. The Kingdom of Sand has entered a normal state, everyone is in their place, only the mother-in-law Chiyo is crying about Chikage's death. Chiyo's mother-in-law said, "I decided, I want to save my granddaughter." Others don't know what it means. Of course Gaara knows what it means. Mother-in-law Chiyo has a unique skill, that is, the technique of resurrecting the dead. But the price is also very high, that is, to trade one's own life for the life of others. Gaara just wanted to say something, but didn't say it again, because it was the choice of Chiyo's mother-in-law. Uchiha Qiye seems to have heard of this technique, but he has never seen it used by others. He said, "Is it a reincarnation technique?" 55. This kind of technique is extremely difficult to see, because once it is used up, the person who cast it will die. Granny Chiyo glanced at Uchiha Qiye, she knew that it was Uchiha Qiye who saved everyone, so she said to him, "Young man, I know you are extraordinary, and your vitality is different from ordinary people. After I use this technique, I will die, but it can be used many times, look good, I will teach you." Advertisement. For flowers, 0. Granny Chiyo opened her two acupoints, the gate of life and the gate of death, and saw a Shinigami standing in the air. She made a seal on her hands, and said something in her mouth, "Take my life for the life of 1,000 shadows, merciful Shinigami, please fulfill my wish." 9. After Shinigami heard it, he took out a Shinigami sickle and cut off the life of Chiyo's mother-in-law in an instant. 0. Then, an endless abyss suddenly appeared behind Shinigami, in which countless souls emerged, and Shinigami used a sickle to hook out Chenying's soul at once. All of a sudden, Chenying's soul was directly stuffed into Chenying's body. The whole process was extremely terrifying, but it only took 5 minutes to recover from the dark scene. Chiyo's mother-in-law fell to the ground in an instant, and at the same time no longer breathed. At this time, Chenying blinked her eyes and gradually came to her senses. After she opened her eyes, she saw the two people around her, Ao Shikuang and Gaara. She didn't quite understand what happened just now. Time seems to know. Mother-in-law Chiyo. Mother-in-law Chiyo. Chapter 580 Chenying Resurrection. Uchiha Qiye refuses to be Fengiying. Chapter 580 Chenying Resurrection. Uchiha Qiye refuses to be Fengiying. Chenying roared in pain. At this time, Gaara supported Chenying, and he said, "Mother-in-law Chiyo used the reincarnation technique for you. She asked me to tell you, live well." Of course Chenying knew what was going on, but she still burst into tears. This whole process has been seen by hundreds of thousands of people in the Kingdom of Sand, and the sacrifice of the mother-in-law, 0.27 inches has made them highly respected. They all knelt down and observed 10 minutes of silence. After everything was sorted out, Uchiha Qiye was in the same room with Gaara and Chenying. Chenying has gradually come out in the sadness. Gaara said, "Uchiha Qiye, I think, you are qualified to be the wind shadow of our country of sand, I should let Xian be." Uchiha Qiye is an extremely intelligent person and a very sensitive person. Gaara loves the people like a child, so what's wrong with being Fengiying? And the strength and qualifications are here, of course he is suitable for Fengiying. What is he Uchiha Qiye? The elder of the Uchiha family in Konoha, went to the land of sand to be Kazekage, isn't this a betrayal of Konoha? And Gaara said this, but it was polite, and even Gaara was expelling guests, because Uchiha Qiye was too powerful, and on this day it was a threat to Gaara for one day. Uchiha Qiye said, "Gaara, don't talk nonsense. I travel around the world and take the world as my responsibility, and I have no intention of doing anything at all. Otherwise, Uchiha is also a Hokage among Konoha. I'm really not interested." Advertisement. One sentence has completely dispelled Gaara's guard. In fact, when Gaara said this, Chenying was also a little confused, but she did not refuse in her heart. It is true that Uchiha Qiye has made great achievements in saving the entire country of sand, and Gaara seems to be in the crisis. There was no standout performance. At this time Gaara said, "Uchiha Qiye, I'm serious, if you are a ninja in the land of sand, then the land of sand will grow infinitely, and I can rest." Uchiha Qiye only understood at this time. It turned out that Gaara was tired and was not interested in Fengiying's position, because it really needed to be exhausted, and there could not be the slightest mistake. Uchiha Qiye said, "Don't talk nonsense, only you are the most suitable person in the Kingdom of Sand. I can guarantee that any time the Kingdom of Sand is violated, I will come to help you. And one more thing, remember me, I'm called arrogant, don't reveal my true identity." Who are Gaara and Chenying? One is Shadow Ninja and the other is Ichigo Guard. Of course they know the importance of this important secret, and they will definitely keep it secret for Uchiha Qiye. So Gaara said, "Don't worry. The Arrogant. The name of the ancestral hall I built for you is also called the Arrogant." Uchiha Qiye nodded and said, "Okay, this trip has come to a successful conclusion, it's time for me to go." After he finished speaking, Uchiha Qiye didn't miss him either. 3.0 turned around and left. Gaara asks, "Pride, where are you going?" Uchiha Qiye said, "Wherever I am needed, I will be there." 35. These words, a proper Lifeng spirit. After finishing speaking, a flying shadow, directly out of everyone's sight. The next place Uchiha Qiye appears is the original tavern where he fought. Chapter 581 Calculating Mi Hong's Scheming. Chapter 581 Calculating Mi Hong's Scheming. The Battle of the Kingdom of Sand has finally come to an end. Uchiha Qiye has already arrived at the tavern just now. In fact, Uchiha Qiye has already thought clearly about the purpose of coming here. That's because someone must have deliberately let out an evil aura to confuse him at this crossroads. That aura has been attracting him to search all the way, to a place that is not known at all, but Uchiha Qiye finally came to his senses quickly. Therefore, it must be the enemy's deception. If this is the case, then Uchiha Qiye must do the opposite in order to be able to crack such an illusion. Well, since that was the case, Uchiha Qiye discovered the strangeness of the land of sand, and remembered the black aura that filled the sky, which was despair and killing. But in this case, the question arises, who is psychedelic him? Uchiha Qiye stood beside the tavern and thought for a long time. It was definitely Wu En's people who stupefied him, because when Uchiha Qiye appeared, they don't even know who this is. Only 1 second before killing this group of people, Uchiha Qiye summoned the strongest Xiangjurjihu, and they realized that this was a person who could compare with their master Mahong. Therefore, it is impossible for them to confuse Uchiha Qiye. In this case, the answer is about to come out. Besides Mi Hong who confuses Uchiha Qiye, who else can it be? This guy is really evil and dangerous. Uchiha Qiye felt that he needed to sort out his thoughts, so he found a big tree and sat down. Uchiha Qiye began to rationalize his thoughts. He thought that it must be Mahong who was used to confuse him, so this battle must be premeditated, and it seems that it should have been premeditated, because the unknowing spell the print has already been posted. Moreover, even a team like Mi Hong has already appeared, indicating that Mi Hong has already started recruiting troops, but no one knows how he carried out this step and how to achieve this goal. Uchiha Qiye thought that Chenying was corroded by the curse mark. It should be Mi Hong who seized the moment of Chenying's life and death, and then took advantage of the danger of others. Chenying didn't even know what the consequences would be. Next is the group of Mi Hong. All of them are ninjas with agile and strong skills, and their strength in a single player can be no weaker than that of other cage-level units. In this way, Mi Hong is specially selected for the world. Experts from all over the world come to control and suppress the curse mark. 027. And there is also a very distinctive feature, that is, these people controlled by Mi Hong do not have extremely firm beliefs, and they are among the best who can rebel, because Mi Hong did not control any minister-level figures. At best, Ichigo guards like Chikage, in the final analysis, belong to the guards. Then Mahong is very smart, he can get excellent subordinates and brainwash them, so as to achieve the purpose of destroying the whole world. But there is a question here, why did Mi Hong himself not appear in the turmoil in the Kingdom of Sand? Chapter 582 Uchiha Qiye is a man, not a god. Chapter 582 Uchiha Qiye is a man, not a god. Uchiha Qiye can't figure this out for a while, maybe that guy is sitting on the mountain watching the tiger fight. But suddenly he thought of something, maybe it's not right, what if it's the tiger leaving the mountain? Mahong may not only have only one Mahong team, there may be other teams, and it is not impossible to fight on multiple fronts at the same time. So whether other countries have such wars at the same time, it is unknown, then it is possible, and since it is possible, then Uchiha Qiye can't sit still. This time, the operation of the Sand Kingdom has already bid farewell to a paragraph, but if the same thing happens to Konoha village at the same time, it may be a possibility. Although Uchiha Qiye does not have any barriers between countries, he still has a lot to do with Konoha village. Deep love. After all, he was in the Konoha village, the chief elder of the Uchiha family, and he had his own base there. If that was the case, Uchiha Qiye was now thinking about the safety of the Konoha village. So I didn't want to start the next journey for the time being. Uchiha Qiye began to go back to Konoha village to see it without stopping. Uchiha Qiye turned on the full speed and wanted to rush to Konoha village immediately, but he suddenly found that it didn't seem to drive all the way, and this reason made Uchiha Qiye scared. Fear, this feeling has not been felt by Uchiha Qiye for a long time, because since the opening of the Eternal Eyes, the feeling of invincibility in the world has naturally formed, so the feeling of threat and fear has not been felt for a long time. Advertisement. At this time, Uchiha Qiye had a feeling of fear. That's because of chakra. In the past, when using ninjutsu, no matter how heavy the use, chakra's energy was rarely used up, but this time he really felt the feeling that chakra would be unsustainable after spending a lot. If the battle just now dragged on for a few more minutes, using chakra with such a high intensity would most likely not last. Because of the super strength Susanoo, it is not the chakra consumption that ordinary physique can support at all, it is simply a massive consumption. After all, it is 1,000 times stronger than a normal Susanoo, so every minute and every second of the chakra required to maintain such a powerful Susanoo will cost 1,000 times more. Moreover, the continuous use of S-rank ninjutsu, such as the Guardian Hand of the Sky, and Gedo statue, consumes a lot of chakra. No matter how different Uchiha Qiye's physique is from ordinary people, he is still a mortal person, because he has not yet reached the physique of gods, and even gods, although chakra is as vast as the sea, will eventually run out one day. Come on Zhao. Uchiha Qiye moved quickly and slowly recovered the chakra in his body. He suddenly thought of one thing, that is, he must find a way to improve the chakra. Otherwise, in the near future, when facing Mahong, it is very likely that a long-term battle will be formed. At that time, if the use of chakra is too much, it will naturally not be able to continue the battle. And one more important thing. Chapter 583 The Starry Night and the Journey Back to Konoha Village. Chapter 583 The Starry Night and the Journey Back to Konoha Village. That is Mi Hong's conspiracy and tricks and small actions are simply too many, giving people a feeling of being overwhelmed. At one time, they formed mysterious rituals, and used the curse to control the master to assassinate Uchiha Qiye. At one time, they formed a high-strength team that destroyed the world and carried out inhuman and indiscriminate destruction of the world. This anti-human Mahong must be eliminated, but in order to eliminate the cunning fox, first of all, you must form a means of self-protection, otherwise, it is very likely that Mahong will be consumed to death in the middle of 027. And this is not the most terrifying. The most terrifying thing is that Uchiha Qiye thought that he didn't know Mi Hong's plan, and he didn't know this person's next plan. If this was the case, it would be easy to fall into a passive situation. Uchiha Qiye was a little anxious in his heart. For the time being, he didn't want to know more about Mahong's plans. First, he had to go back to Konoha village to see if there was any abnormality. Because the Kingdom of Sand is still far away from Konoha village, it took a whole day to reach the peaks in front of Konoha village. Uchiha Qiye, who was on his way halfway, was exhausted. After all, the distance was too far, and he was walking towards Konoha village step by step even though he had exhausted chakra. It was already midnight, the sky was dark, and the moonlight shone softly on the ground, looking very quiet. But in fact, Uchiha Qiye still felt very uneasy in his heart. He was afraid that Konoha village would not have a competent person to solve this huge trouble. Advertisement. What happened in San Shinobi village? If it weren't for his presence and the divine assist of Chiyo's mother-in-law, it would eventually become an irreversible situation. This was because of the presence of such powerful people that the crisis was resolved. Without these people, it would be out of control. Beta, at this time, the reason why Uchiha Qiye is so anxious is here, but he is still a long way from the village. Although chakra has completely overdrawn, he can still open his eyes. At this time, Uchiha Qiye opened the eyes of Eternal Mangekyo Blood Wheel, and Eternal Rinnegan, and saw the situation of Konoha village at once. The surrounding is filled with white aura, and this kind of aura is normal. It will be white when there is nothing inside. If it is black, it means death and plague, and if it is red, it means war and killing, so this situation is already very good. Uchiha Qiye closed his eyes when he saw this, otherwise he didn't know how long he would be able to support this state. Uchiha Qiye, who was completely relaxed in his heart, slowly walked towards San Shinobi village, and even his footsteps became brisk. It is no wonder that everyone has this kind of reaction when they are relaxed and under no pressure. When they finally arrived at the entrance of Sunagaku, Uchiha Qiye walked here. The two guards at the entrance raised their swords vigilantly even though it was already dark at night, even though torches were burning at the entrance. Asked the person who came, "Who are you? What are you doing here in the middle of the night?" At this time, Uchiha Qiye has recovered his appearance, because when using other best names. Chapter 584 Pretending to be forced as a habit and a faith. Chapter 584 Pretending to be forced as a habit and a faith. Of course, you can't let others see your true face. So Uchiha Qiye smiled faintly, took 2 steps forward, and the light from the torch shone on his face. I, Uchiha Qiye, don't know each other. Uchiha Qiye said lightly. In fact, the instinct is to try to pretend, but at first glance, there are only 2 guards, and when he has almost no chakra, what is there to pretend to be? He subconsciously thought in his heart that it seems that this kind of thing will really become a habit after a long time. At this moment, Uchiha Qiye, a smile appeared on his face, it looked like spring flowers were blooming. The 2 guards can see it clearly, and everyone knows that the chief elder of the Uchiha family runs outside to do tasks at every turn, and it may take a long time to come back. So the guard said very respectfully, "Welcome the chief elder of the Uchiha family home. Please come in." Uchiha Qiye finally walked in. After arriving at Konoha village, he heard the cuckoo chirping in the middle of the night and the stars, which became the embellishment in the night, giving people a quiet and peaceful feeling. Advertisement. And Uchiha Qiye's own temperament, he is a person who likes quiet and does not like moving, does not like any lively scenes, and always wants to be alone. And this feeling of loneliness is addictive. Once people get used to loneliness, they will really be accompanied by loneliness, and they do not like and hope to associate with more people. Sometimes Uchiha Qiye feels that the feeling in the heaven is actually better than in the ninja world. In this world, he has the Uchiha family to manage, and he has to deal with Mahong to save the whole world from disaster. And even if Mahong is eliminated and the world disaster is cancelled, the peace of the whole world must be maintained. Can he do it? In fact, Uchiha Qiye really can't do it. This seems to be a call from the heart, or a mission from God. But Uchiha Qiye's temperament likes to be quiet. For himself, he intuitively thinks that the turbulence of the world has nothing to do with him. But he couldn't do it, so he just kept going. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot o. Uchiha Qiye also doesn't know the task on his body, how heavy the burden of resistance will be on his shoulders, and when will this burden be unloaded. He doesn't know at all. Advertisement. So at this time, Uchiha Qiye suddenly had an attitude of resignation, and his understanding of the way of heaven seemed to deepen. He raised his head and looked at the sky, always feeling that the heaven would become his next target sooner or later. 0. So at this time, Uchiha Qiye sighed in his heart, in the vast sky, I don't know when the return date will be. 35. After saying this, Uchiha Qiye was stunned, returning home. What do you mean? Why is it returning? Could it be that he has a deep connection with the heavenly world? He doesn't know, and he doesn't know, maybe the answer will be given to him in the future, and time will show him. At this time, Uchiha Qiye finally calmed down, no longer looking up at the starry sky, but walked towards his own Uchiha family. After arriving at the door, 2 guards greeted them far away, Elder, you are back. Chapter 585 Nagato's sudden strength increases. Chapter 585 Nagato's sudden strength increases. Uchiha Qiye is a little strange. He didn't notify anyone when he came back. Why did the 2 guards come to meet him after a long way? This is unscientific, so the keen Uchiha Qiye said, what's the matter, how did you know that I came here? So the guard said, actually, we don't know, we, 027, didn't even see it, because the guard was going to stand outside the door, and it was Nagato who came out and told us to go and greet us. Uchiha Qiye blinked, is this young man Nagato capable? So he smiled lightly and said, okay, I see, you lead the way. Uchiha Qiye finally returned to his base camp, but he was still thinking about another question along the way, that is, why did Mahong not attack Konoha village? This is a question that Uchiha Qiye has not figured out all the time. So Uchiha Qiye walked in and finally saw Nagato and Konan waiting for him in the house. After seeing the two of them, Uchiha Qiye felt a special kindness in his heart, as if he saw his long-lost relatives. After a few people said hello, they went straight back to the house. After lighting the lamp, a lot of good wine and meat came up one after another. Uchiha Qiye was a little surprised. How did they know they were hungry? Advertisement. So Uchiha Qiye asked, Nagato, how did you know so well that I was coming? Nagato responded, hey, it's a secret, I feel like I've gotten better these days, even Conan. Uchiha Qiye didn't expect this guy to actually play dumb with him, so he smiled lightly, and started to grow up in big chunks. I didn't expect Uchiha Qiye to eat so much, but this is also predictable, after all, chakra is completely gone, people will naturally be very hungry. Uchiha Qiye finally looked satisfied after eating and drinking, so he asked again, Nagato, tell me quickly, what's going on, has your pupil strength improved? According to Uchiha Qiye's understanding of Rinnegan, Rinnegan needs triple evolution to get eternal Rinnegan. Only when the real eternal Rinnegan can get this kind of remote viewing ability, that is to say, as long as you pay attention, you can see things in the distance clearly when you open the Rinnegan, and you can see very detailed and delicate, which is incomparable to the blood wheel eye. Yes, after all, each has its own specialties and powers. But if you want to evolve into eternal Rinnegan, it is not an easy thing at all, it requires painful experience and a greater understanding of life and death, and a master can do it. The difficulty is not lower than upgrading blood wheel eye to eternal Mangekyo blood wheel eye. So Uchiha Qiye was very curious as to what was going on. And just the whole time Nagato said 3.0, you don't know, we recently got a tip from an expert. Uchiha Qiye frowned, feeling a little weird, tall person. What's the matter? Why is there such a saying as tall person? Is there anyone in this world other than him? Uchiha Qiye is taller. Although a little conceited, but at this time, from the perspective of the whole world, Uchiha Qiye has really never seen it. Chapter 586 The Feeling of the Sky Falling Apart. Conan and Nagato are all hit. Chapter 586 The Feeling of the Sky Falling Apart. Conan and Nagato are all hit. Someone stronger than him, so it felt very wrong. Uchiha Qiye said, what kind of expert, come and tell me in detail. At this time, Nagato nodded mysteriously, he said, that expert, he looks like a fairy, with a long white beard. Once when Conan and I were out on a mission, because the other party was very strong, we were also injured, but not well known. Nagato continued, just 14 years after the end of the war, such an expert appeared, he looked very kind, and he helped us heal the injury directly, and then he told us that he wanted to be stronger. If so, he can help us. The more Uchiha Qiye listened to it, the more wrong it became. Why should this so-called master treat them, instead of helping the enemies who were killed by them, and helping them unconditionally? It's unreasonable no matter how you think about it, but seeing Nagato say this is also a good thing, so this thing seems a little weird. Nagato said, the master gave us 2 runes, and after sticking them on our backs, the runes disappeared naturally. From that moment on, Conan and I suddenly discovered that our strength has improved a lot by leaps and bounds. And there are really no side effects, and the expert has disappeared since then. 5. Rune. Back. Uchiha Qiye became more nervous, so Uchiha Qiye said, you turn around and let me see your backs. Advertisement. Nagato is nothing, she's a big man anyway, Conan is a girl who hasn't married yet, isn't it bad to show her back? But Nagato and Conan are also smart people, and after they finished saying these words, Uchiha Qiye's reaction was not happy at all, but felt a little hazy, as if there was something unusual. So Nagato and Conan seemed to have reacted, pulling down the clothes behind them as an order, exposing their backs. When Uchiha Qiye saw the red incantation on their backs, he suddenly stepped back a few steps. Thump, thump, thump. It was a very complicated and shocking performance. Nagato and Conan were also surprised after seeing Uchiha Qiye's reaction. What's going on? Isn't it a good thing that there is such a thing, and there are no side effects, so that their strength has grown by leaps and bounds? So Nagato asked, Uchiha Qiye, what's going on? How are you behaving like this? Haven't you seen it before? Uchiha Qiye took 2 deep breaths, and then slowly calmed down his emotions. It seems that Mi Hong did not do nothing to Konoha, but cast a wide net, 027 sticking the curse mark on every master as much as possible on the body. Uchiha Qiye didn't know if there were other masters in Konoha who were also hit by the curse. If it happened at the same time, an incident like the Kingdom of Sand would definitely happen again. So Uchiha Qiye asked, I ask you, this rune, unless you are hit, has anyone else in our Konoha village been pasted with a rune? Nagato and Conan looked at each other, then shook their heads and said, we don't know, because we've talked to anyone about it, but you. Uchiha Qiye looked worried, not knowing what to do for a while. Chapter 587 The Hand of Heaven, Destroy the Curse Seal. Chapter 587 The Hand of Heaven, Destroy the Curse Seal. At this time Nagato finally asked, Uchiha Qiye, tell us what's going on. Uchiha Qiye looked up at them and said, this is not a magic rune at all, and the purpose is not to improve you at all, this thing is called a spell, when he wants to use you, you will even lose your own consciousness, attacking anyone the person he wants to attack, that's right, is the immortal person you mentioned. This sentence seemed to blow up some kind of flower. Nagato and Conan's eyes widened at the same time, feeling very horrified. Why? Is there such a thing in this world? They can't believe it. Nagato said, what's the matter? There is such a thing in this world. Why does he want to control us? Uchiha Qiye shook his head, sighed and said, this is a long story. So Uchiha Qiye told the two people from the beginning to the end, including all the experiences in the Land of Sand. It was only after all this was said that Nagato and Konan understood what was going on, with angry nervous expressions on their faces. So Uchiha Qiye said, I really don't understand, you have been in the arena for many years, how can you believe such an obvious lie? He is a warlock, why does he help you and give you things for no reason? This obviously has a big impact. It's weird. Nagato slapped his thigh, damn it. I saw that he helped us heal the wound, and I got a bit of confidence. Who knew it would be Mahong Chaozhuang? Uchiha Qiye is also hated in his heart. It seems that Mahong's ability is stronger. According to reason, Nagato and Mahong are in the same door. They are brothers, they are familiar with each other's breath, but this time Mahong is unexpectedly he completely hid his breath and didn't let Nagato discover it. Advertisement. This can be said to be a sense of terror. This Mi Hong can not only restrain his breath, but also disguise himself so that no one can recognize him. Previously, as long as Mahong was within 1 kilometer from Uchiha Qiye, he could be quickly locked by Uchiha Qiye. It seems that this time is different. Uchiha Qiye has made progress, and Mahong has improved even more. Is it really that the Tao is 1 foot high and the devil is 1 foot high? Or there are other possibilities, this person who looks immortal is not Mi Hong at all, or someone else, such as Mi Hong's accomplice. And from the point of view of time, it may not be Mahong at that time, he was still in the Land of Sand a few days ago. If this is the case, it may be more difficult. Who knows what kind of person the other party is and what kind of relationship he has with Mi Hong. If the two join forces, will Uchiha Qiye still be able to overcome? He didn't know in his heart, and was very uneasy. But no matter what the top priority is to remove the curse mark, otherwise, if Konan and Nagato break out, to Zhao it is really an existence that is not easy to deal with. Uchiha Qiye said, let's not think about it so much now, let me help you get rid of the curse. As soon as Nagato and Konan heard that Uchiha Qiye was able to do this directly, it felt like the rest of their lives. So the two of them turned their backs to Uchiha Qiye, and the latter began to slowly flow an extremely powerful chakra in his hands, which is the stunt of eternal Rinnegan, the hand of heaven. Chapter 588 Personally feel what a sea-like chakra is. Chapter 588 Personally feel what a sea-like chakra is. Uchiha Qiye's ability to control the hand of heaven is getting stronger and stronger. When he used it for the first time, he would spend a lot of chakra to control it and help hundreds of thousands of people around him absorb the plague of the curse. But in the face of two people, of course, there is no need to mobilize the crowd, and you only need to control the hand of the heavenly way in a small range to absorb all the curse seal plague in the two people's bodies. After 5 minutes of absorption, the hand of heaven finally cleaned up all the plagues of these curse marks. But Uchiha Qiye was already sweating profusely. After this series of trials, he finally fell on the ground and wiped the sweat from his forehead. At the same time, Nagato and Konan felt an unprecedented sense of ease, a feeling of joy that cannot be described at all, but it really exists. Why? It's because the spell seal is completely removed, and of course I feel very happy and relaxed, although I didn't feel any dull pressure before. That's because I'm here in Yamanaka, I don't know the face of Mount Lu, and this time I finally got rid of the spell. Yin was all driven away, and the two of them realized that there was some unknown power in their original body that was not under their control at all. Beta, Zibo Qiye couldn't control his body at all, so he just sat down with a thud. He had completely used up his chakra. Of course he couldn't bear it after such a tossing. It belongs to the energy exhaustion in this case. If you force the power on again, you will naturally be very tired. At this time, Nagato and Konan were completely normal, and they were surprised when they saw Uchiha Qiye like this. They had never seen Uchiha Qiye so tired before, but this time they were surprised to see him. Does Uchiha Qiye have times when chakra is not enough? Does he have times when he can't keep up with his physical strength? Unimaginable things. So Nagato and Konan were surprised and went up together to help Uchiha Qiye transmit chakra. The two people sat behind Uchiha Qiye, and at the same time put Uchiha Qiye's body on the right side, and then transmitted chakra to him together. After a long time of transmission, Uchiha Qiye's body gradually returned to its normal mechanism. And after such a transmission, both Nagato and Konan were very surprised. If an ordinary ninja's chakra storage is equivalent to a water glass, then Uchiha Qiye's chakra storage is simply as vast as the sea. No matter how hard the two of them tried, even if they tried their best to transmit all the chakra in their bodies, it was just a feeling that a drop of water had merged into the sea, and they could meet. After all the chakras of Uchiha Qiye were restored, it would be how terrifying. Logically speaking, under normal circumstances, Uchiha Qiye's chakra can be said to be a perpetual motion machine-like experience, and there is no time for exhaustion at all. But in this case, Uchiha Qiye would actually be depleted, showing how amazing and terrifying his actions to go to the land of sand should be, and how many terrifying things happened inside. Advertisement Chapter 589 Really appreciate how much Super S rank ninjutsu consumes mana. Chapter 589 Really appreciate how much Super S rank ninjutsu consumes mana. Will the sea be drained of water? After about an hour, Nagato and Konan had just finished transmitting, and finally Uchiha Qiye's eyes opened. Uchiha Qiye said, okay, I can move on by myself. After saying this, Nagato and Konan stopped with a sigh of relief, because they also passed almost all of their chakra to Uchiha Qiye. Under this kind of full-strength indoctrination, Uchiha Qiye has only just resumed his basic actions, which is simply too exaggerated. After a while, The mood of several people just calmed down. Uchiha Qiye said, "Tonight we are all too tired, tomorrow we will talk about the cursed seal. It's already midnight. If you continue to say this, it will definitely not work. After all, everyone needs to rest." So the two of them left. After Uchiha Qiye sat down in his room, he turned off the light and entered a state of meditation. After such a tossing, Uchiha Qiye realized more deeply that he really needed chakra. In previous battles, although he would have consumed a lot of chakra, he never had the experience of starting Super S grade ninjutsu, because the most reaching the S rank is the limit. But what is the concept of Super S level? If it is S level, it needs 100% of chakra, then Super S level needs 1,000 points, even 10,000 points. And this is only the initial stage of the launch. If the consumption continues, it is simply exponential growth. Advertisement. This feature has already made Uchiha Qiye feel very incredible. When the Super S level Susanoo was activated, most of the chakra was thrown in just after it was activated, and it took more and more to maintain this combat state. Chakra. So no matter how much chakra a person has, it is possible to completely consume it within a few hours. The most important thing is that this is just a Super S grade ninjutsu with such characteristics. If he learns more Super S ninjutsu and uses it in the future, it will not be able to support his battle at all. So the top priority now is whether you can quantify your chakra more massively. Of course, it is best to have unlimited chakra. If you can do this, you will be invincible in the world. But if you can't do this, you are at best a leader among mortals, and it is a joke to say that you are invincible in the world. Thinking of this, Uchiha Qiye finally knew how small and fragile he was, and he almost died in such a difficult battle. 0. So Uchiha Qiye slowly opened his eyes and looked at the bright moon outside, thinking in his heart, if this continues, he might really be consumed by Mi Hong's conspiracy and tricks. Now that Mahong hasn't fully appeared yet, he has already exhausted chakra himself, which is really not a good omen. If Mi Hong singled out Uchiha Qiye, the two might be tied, but if this kind of tug of war was used, it wouldn't necessarily kill who would win. The reason is actually very simple. It's not that Mi Hong is more resourceful, but one who wants to destroy and one who wants to protect. There is a saying that sieging a city is easy. Advertisement Chapter 590 Thoughts and Anticipation of the Mahong Organization. Chapter 590 Thoughts and Anticipation of the Mahong Organization. It's hard to defend the city. That's the reason. People want to deliberately make a mess, and they will really have a particularly uncomfortable experience when their whereabouts are still uncertain. But Uchiha Qiye is a person who will not admit defeat at all, so in this case, he will never be discouraged. But at present, the top priority is really not to solve the problem of the curse mark. Although 027 is also very important, if the problem of chakra cannot be solved, it is impossible to remove such a large number of curse marks. Because according to Uchiha Qiye's intuition, since both Nagato and Konan are inscribed with the curse, then there may already be countless people in this world who have such disgusting things waiting for Uchiha Qiye to clear them. If this is the case, his chakra alone cannot do this, and it may require a lot of people, or a large number of manpower and material resources. But in this case, it is impossible to do things like this. First of all, how to organize the manpower, which ones are available and which ones are not available, these are all things that can't be said at all. Not to mention material resources, dispatching troops, travel expenses, and all kinds of information transmission, so it is definitely not a small project. And after all this is done, the entire battlefield does not know what it will develop into. In this case, the future result orientation is really not necessarily known. Uchiha Qiye thought, Mi Hong really has a set, because his wish to destroy the whole world can't kill the people in the whole ninja world one by one, but use this large-scale plague attack to make the ninjas each other slaughter, so as to achieve the effect of darkness. Surely clever, but also very despicable. Luo. Uchiha Qiye looked up at the sky. There was a stubborn striving in his heart. He would never back down easily because of these difficulties. At this time, Uchiha Qiye thought of another question. Nagato and Konan have never smelled the breath of Mahong at all. Of course, it cannot be said to be smell, but a feeling and feeling. After all, Mahong and Nagato are all the same. Blood, this very special link is there. But Nagato didn't feel it at all when facing the so-called immortal old man, which made Uchiha Qiye have to wonder one thing, that is this old man really Mahong himself? Or is there someone else? If it is someone else, it may be even more troublesome. This is definitely not a simple matter, and it is very likely that it has developed into a large team with an organization, scale and plan. When Uchiha Qiye thought of the word team just now, he was stunned for a moment, because he remembered Wu En. This man called his team a team, so that means there are other teams besides Wu En's words. On top of the squad, there must be a brigade, or even a base and an organization. In this case, this 3.0 will naturally be formed. This is an organization that wants to destroy the entire ninja world. In this case, the problem is very serious. Uchiha Qiye once only wanted to target one person, but now it seems to be targeting an organization. But how many people are in this organization, where is the base, and what are their battle plans? Chapter 591 Re-entering the Heaven for Chakra Infinite Technique. Chapter 591 Re-entering the Heaven for Chakra Infinite Technique. Nothing is known until now. But there is no way, because so far, Uchiha Qiye has only just discovered these things, and Mi Hong is all in his conspiracy. So after Uchiha Qiye figured out these key points, a specific plan in his mind took shape. But if you want to complete such a plan, you must need one thing, that is, your own chakra is infinitely enlarged by 14 times, otherwise it will not be able to support such a large expense. In other words, chakra infinity, because only by doing this can he face such big problems and troubles. Has anyone done this until now? No, because chakra of any attribute, even the celestial chakra, cannot be completely endless, it has a limit. So if you want chakra to be infinite, you must find another shortcut. Uchiha Qiye thinks about it and thinks that there is no such technique at all, and suddenly he has an idea. What if there is something about this spell that can be purchased in the system? Because the system is simply omnipresent. Uchiha Qiye has been meditating all night, his body is slowly recovering, the vast chakra is also gradually recovering, and he is feeling a rare sense of peace. Since then, the thinking will be naturally clear, the emotions will of course be gradually eased and calmed down, and the thinking will naturally be sharp. Advertisement. So at this time, Uchiha Qiye directly opened the system and took a look, and suddenly found that there was no supplementary skill about chakra at all. Now Uchiha Qiye is at a loss, what should I do? So Uchiha Qiye continued to meditate. It was now more than 3 in the morning, but when he was meditating, it always felt like time passed quickly. Unconsciously, Uchiha Qiye entered a deeper meditation. Naturally, Uchiha Qiye's soul soared directly into the heaven. This time, he didn't do it on purpose, but it was only natural that his kung fu had reached a mature level. When Uchiha Qiye first arrived here, he naturally felt a special joy in his heart. He used to come here by accident, and then he came to the heaven on purpose, but this time he came to the heaven very naturally. This feeling seems to be a kind of guidance from heaven. Although Uchiha Qiye doesn't know why, he always feels that he can get an answer in the heaven. Maybe it was because of a thought that I wanted to find out what to do with the current problem, so I came to the heaven to ask for some guidance and see. Uchiha Qiye, who came to the heaven for the 27th time, was in a very comfortable mood, and for Uchiha Qiye, this pleasant and comfortable feeling came out naturally from his heart. But in the ninja world, it is very different, because the ninja world is full of too many troubles and distractions, and it is necessary to constantly confront and improve one's own cultivation. But in the heavenly world, it is completely different. There is no war here, only comfort and pleasure. What a wonderful world it is. Moreover, the blessings of people in the heavens are great, and their lifespans are extremely long. Chapter 592 Encountering Naruto. Great changes. Chapter 592 Encountering Naruto. Great changes. Each person has a lifespan of dozens of 10,000 years, which is simply too much longer than the people in the ninja world. It is said that if you observe the world of ninjas from the heavens, everyone does not look like a human at all, it seems to be squirming like a bug, and it will die immediately after running a few times. So Uchiha Qiye felt more and more that the ninja world was not interesting at all, and it was better to have a high-level world like the heavenly world. During the whole time, Uchiha Qiye looked up and saw that the buildings inside were simply beautiful, and they were clean without even a trace of dust. The human heart is pure, and everything around nature has become pure. In fact, what Uchiha Qiye is thinking about is very important, that is, he wants to try to find a good way from the heavens, that is whether chakra can find a good way. Unlimited methods of use. Looking at these buildings, the bright and dignified building in the middle is the place where Toji lives, which means that the small buildings next to it are all ordinary heavenly beings, and Toji is the most powerful heavenly being. In this heaven, it is of course Toji to manage, so Uchiha Qiye, as a frequent visitor here, must go directly to find Toji. A soaring ascension, and soon came to Toji. I saw that Toji was not as leisurely as before this time, sitting while drinking tea and reading a book, like a pension-like life. Because this time Toji was with Naruto, and now Naruto is meditating, of course Uchiha Qiye knows meditation very well. Generally speaking, the side must be absolutely quiet and not disturb the people inside, so although Uchiha Qiye came there was no movement here. Advertisement. After Uchiha Qiye came, Toji glanced at him, and the two smiled at each other, even if they said hello. So Uchiha Qiye came to Kagaji's side, and although the two didn't speak, Naruto woke up from the state of meditation after a while, only to see a yellow line under his eyes. Uchiha Qiye knew that it was immortal chakra, he also knew how to use it, and the power was very pure, but it was not used under normal circumstances. Just after Naruto opened his eyes, he saw Uchiha Qiye very quickly, very surprised, and greeted him. Uchiha Qiye, how did you come here? Uchiha Qiye smiled and said, I often come here in my dreams, do you miss the ninja world? Naruto shook his head and said, don't miss it, I think it's very good in heaven, and I don't think there is any need to go back to that ninja world. Uchiha Qiye felt that the reason why Naruto left was that he was still young and could not manage such a big place, so it was understandable to let the previous Hokage take the position, but in fact it is not a blow to a person. Small. Naruto has a more cheerful personality, but he doesn't think deeply enough about things. Maybe it will take some more time, but it's not the time yet. And Uchiha Qiye didn't know why Naruto came to Toji's side. At this time, Todioshi said, Naruto has been practicing here for a long time. Chapter 593 Naruto talks about chakra attribute experience. Chapter 593 Naruto talks about chakra attribute experience. The ability is much stronger than before, this time I encountered a hurdle in my cultivation, and I came to see the situation. Uchiha Qiye understands that Naruto is only temporarily resting and sinking, but he will never be so depressed. So Uchiha Qiye said, Naruto, I won't misunderstand you. In fact, the current Hokage has already been replaced. You must know the twists and turns during this period. I hope you will be the next Hokage, because your character is the best. Have the will of fire. Naruto glanced at Uchiha Qiye, the will of fire. The word stirred in his heart, but calmed down again in an instant. Naruto said, a lot of things, it's too early to say what will happen in the future. In fact, I can't tell when I will see it. 027 Uchiha Qiye asked Naruto, why do I feel that your chakra is much thicker and purer than before? Before your wind attribute chakra can't be seen, now you only have the fairy chakra, and it is very powerful, more powerful than before. Much stronger. Naruto was not surprised that a master like Uchiha Qiye could see through him at a glance, so Naruto said, Uchiha Qiye, this time I came to see Toji because of chakra. The chakra of all heaven and man is extremely pure, and there are no 5 elemental chakra, but they only grandmaster 1 chakra. Uchiha Qiye doesn't understand, isn't it better to have more elements and chakra? After all, the 5 elements of the 5 elements are mutually reinforcing, and the 5 elements of his master may just be able to restrain the other's 5 elements, so it will be more convenient when fighting. Then there is only one kind of chakra, maybe it is not very good. At this time, Uchiha Qiye said his own question, is that so? I remember our 3rd Hokage Grandmaster 4 kinds of chakra, and they can be used at the same time, isn't that very powerful? Naruto shook his head and said, actually, I used to think so too, but after such a long experience, I understood a truth. He continued, the human body is a container, no matter how big the container is, the chakra that can be carried by the beta is still limited. In this limited space, various forces and impurities should not be squeezed. Only when the Grandmaster has a power, then this power can be exerted to the ultimate. As Naruto spoke, Todioshi nodded in satisfaction, as if this was also what Todioshi meant, and Naruto got his instructions and true biography. Naruto's words and truths are actually a refreshing feeling for Uchiha Qiye. He didn't think that he needed such a complex insight, and he didn't even think that chakra, the only Grandmaster, turned out to be an advantage. Of course Naruto saw what Uchiha Qiye didn't understand, so he smiled and said, there is only one type of chakra in Grandmaster. In fact, you don't need to be afraid that the other's chakra can restrain you, because Tai Chi produces 2 Yi, and 2 Yi produces 4 items, and thus evolves out of everything. Uchiha Qiye seemed to understand something and wanted to listen to Naruto continue to talk, because it was like God's will. Uchiha Qiye actually came to ask Chakra's question, but Naruto was actually telling him these things. Sometimes the man of destiny. Chapter 594 Another lesson for the immortal Toji. Chapter 594 Another lesson for the immortal Toji. It's like this, you can get what you want quickly, this can't be said to be a coincidence, but the inevitable manifestation of good fortune. Naruto said, when the opponent's chakra and you want to restrain, then your own chakra can completely deal with the opponent as long as it is strong and innocent enough. The best among them is actually the magic chakra, because he does not have any attributes, and naturally there is no weakness. At this time, Uchiha Qiye suddenly realized the superiority of chakra. He used to think that this type of chakra has no attributes, so he didn't pay much attention to using it. But now, after hearing what Naruto said, Uchiha Qiye actually began to envy the chakra with this attribute. At this time, Immortal Toji smiled kindly, and he said to Naruto, Naruto, you only know one of them now, but you don't know the other, although what you said is true, but there is actually a more advanced realm, it's just that so far, you can practice the chakra magic first. Naruto is of course a smart one, and the Immortal Toji is actually saving face by talking like this. Naruto understands, he can't mislead Uchiha Qiye here, so he stood up and said, the master said, Uchiha Qiye, I'm leaving now, I want to be more train hard. Uchiha Qiye also stood up. He suddenly felt that Naruto, this little guy, had become more mature and stable during this period of time. People, they only matured after a few things. Maybe this experience, or a blow, might not be a bad thing for him. So Uchiha Qiye said, good luck. If you want to go back to the ninja world, we all welcome you strongly, and people miss you. There was a tear in Naruto's eyes when he said this, but he tried very hard to hide it. Uchiha Qiye can fully understand this subtle movement. In fact, Naruto also has a special yearning for his homeland, but he just doesn't want to go back at this time. Advertisement. Of course, the people who were born and raised in that world gained friendship and fetters there, and finally gained the respect of Hokage as they wished. In the end, the heights were so cold that they came to the heaven to escape from the world to practice. For flowers, 0. Hiding is only temporary, but it is absolutely impossible for a lifetime, so Uchiha Qiye will definitely believe that Naruto will be able to stand on the top again. After Naruto left, there were only Uchiha Qiye and Todioshi left in the Sendai Pavilion. So the very sensible Uchiha Qiye hurriedly brought tea and poured 2 cups of good tea. 0. At this time, Uchiha Qiye said, Toji Immortal, to be honest, I am here to inquire about the application of chakra. 55. Toji Shen took a sip of the tea poured by Uchiha Qiye. Sure enough, the tea ceremony was very good. The tea brewed was like nectar, with a bit of bitterness in the sweetness, and the bitter aftertaste was very delicious. Sure enough, this Uchiha Qiye has a heart. So Todioshi smiled and said, why, your strength is also the top in the ninja world, so there are doubts about chakra? This makes me very puzzled. Uchiha Qiye said, I want to ask Immortal Toji for advice. Kai. Chapter 595 The power of gluttonous summons Uchiha Qiye again. Chapter 595 The Power of Gluttonous summons Uchiha Qiye again. Why is the realm that Naruto said is the first level, and what is the deeper level? Toji Immortal, of course, knows everything and can answer endlessly. He said, the immortal art chakra is good, it has no fixed attributes, of course it will not be restrained, and naturally it does not matter to restrain others, so chakra, is it perfect? Having said that, U-027, Zebo Qiye immediately understood that the customization of immortal magic chakra is of course not perfect. In essence, it only belongs to the attributeless chakra, which is still a kind of chakra. Attribute. So Uchiha Qiye asked, so what kind of chakra is perfect? After taking a sip of tea, Immortal Toji did not answer Uchiha Kai's question completely, but said, then let me ask you, what kind of chakra do you think is perfect? Uchiha Qiye scratched his head. He had never thought about this question, but after Toad Sage said this, he began to think about it. He said, chakra that can be used at will and transformed into any attribute is perfect. Toji nodded with a smile, and said, you mean that the chakra you have can be transformed into any 5 elements you want, right? Although Uchiha Qiye thought it was impossible, he nodded, and then shook his head again, feeling a little overwhelmed himself. Toji said, every day, water is born. In the ninja world, water is the most precious, and at the same time, water is humble and moisturizing. Therefore, people think that water is the choice of the king, but this is not the case. 5. Advertisement he continued, because in the lower realm of the ninja world, they can only get water, and it is impossible to get the most important Tieni, which is the most perfect chakra. Uchiha Qiye thought about it for a while, and he felt that what Gaoji said was very reasonable, but what is Tieni? How to get Tieni? This makes Uchiha Qiye unable to understand at all, because in essence, he only belongs to the Tao of the ninja world, and naturally he has not thought about this kind of problem, so he does not know what kind of thing Tieni is, or what kind of state it is. So Uchiha Qiye asked, please explain to the immortal Toji, what is Tieni? Toji smiled. He was not trying to betray. Toji said, since the ancient times, after tens of thousands of calamities, in this time and space, the only one who has obtained Tieni, only one person, no, specifically, there is only one beast. Uchiha Kai's eyes widened. A beast? How could this be possible? A beast could do something that even humans could not do. This is something that cannot be believed at all. Uchiha Qiye asked, what beast? Toji's eyes looked into the distance. It was the Nantianman in the heaven. Uchiha Qiye also followed Toji 3.0's eyes to look over, and always felt that the direction was very familiar. So Toji said, that is the ancient giant beast Gluttonous that suppressed 100,000 kilometers underground in the heavens, only it has the true meaning of Tieni. Uchiha Qiye felt a little shocked in his heart, and he kept muttering, gluttonous, gluttonous. Suddenly, an extremely intimate and terrifying force was calling him. Chapter 596 The Real Strongest Chakra. The Power of Gluttony. Chapter 596 The Real Strongest Chakra. The Power of Gluttony. Yes, Uchiha Kai's mind felt a trance and ripples. He didn't know if this was an illusion, but it clearly happened. Uchiha Qiye thought to himself, does gluttonous food have any fate for him? What is going on? He doesn't understand at all. After several visits to the heaven, everything that happened to Teodi made Uchiha Qiye feel an incredible power. It seemed that -14 had been telling Uchiha Qiye that he had a very special fate with Teodi. In fact, Toji has felt this strange difference several times, but he absolutely cannot tell those secrets, and he doesn't know whether those secrets are illusions or truths. So Toji tentatively asked Uchiha Qiye, did you feel something? Uchiha Qiye unknowingly shed a layer of sweat. He wiped the sweat a little embarrassedly, and then said, yes, I feel that gluttonous food seems to have an impact on my mind. I don't know why I can always sense his presence. 95. Toji sighed, and he said, I don't want to hide it from you. You and Teodi do have a special fate, but what is it? It is the will of God, and I can't reveal the will of God. Uchiha Kai's eyes widened in shock. It turned out that he really had something to do with Teodi. This made people extremely surprised and shocked. What was going on? There was no information about Teodi since his memory. So Uchiha Qiye said with some panic, what's going on? What's going on with that glutton? After he finished asking, he realized that he had made a slip of the tongue. Originally, Toji had also said it, so it was not convenient to tell. Toji is a very merciful and tolerant celestial master, he still patiently said, because I can't be sure whether those things are the truth or an illusion, so I can't say. In short, the will of heaven will slowly unravel this veil for you. Yes, let's get back on the topic and talk about the gluttonous chakra. Uchiha Qiye nodded, feeling that chakra is the top priority right now, and gluttony belongs to the divine beast that has been suppressed in the celestial world, and it is not something he should think about now. So Uchiha Qiye said, okay, you talk. Toji said, all of us in the 6 paths have formed their own lives after the formation of the cosmos. After countless eons of evolution, Teodi is different. He is the companion creature when the cosmos was formed. In other words, he has lived from the beginning of the universe to this time, immortal and immortal. This news has completely exceeded Uchiha Kai's understanding. He really could not have imagined that there is such a surprising thing in this world. How is this possible? He doesn't understand the ins and outs of it at all. It will be there in time, it is simply the existence of the great ancestor. Toji smiled and stroked his beard, and continued, that's why the gluttonous chakra can be regarded as a real Tieni, because he came with the sky, and he has a unique Tieni chakra on his body, which I can't describe. I can't say it clearly, but I can only say this, the gluttonous chakra is endless, and restrains all other chakras. except the immortal chakra that cannot be restrained. Uchiha Qiye hears the toad auspicious fairy. Chapter 597 Tieni Chakra, the strongest in the world. Chapter 597 Tieni Chakra, the strongest in the world. Such a description can be regarded as clear. It turns out that there really exists in this world except the immortal chakra, which can restrain all other chakras. And this extremely rare chakra is called Tieni Chakra. It completely subverts Uchiha Kai's cognition. Isn't this gluttonous invincible? It is simply too strong. At the same time, Uchiha Qiye also thought of a problem, that is, the reason why Teodi can be suppressed in the Tao of Heaven is that the Tao of Heaven has the natural chakra attribute of the immortal, and will not be restrained by Teodi, so of course it can suppress him. Uchiha Qiye only nodded at this time, and when he heard Toji say this, he finally understood what was going on in his heart. So Uchiha Qiye said, so it is impossible for the rest of us to get gluttonous chakra? Toji scratched his head, then nodded affirmatively and said, it's really impossible. In this universe, the gluttonous Tieni chakra is the only one, the most powerful, and there is no way anyone else can get it. Uchiha Qiye sighed and said, it's a pity. Teodi is simply too powerful, with the strongest chakra, and endless energy. This is really invincible, but I don't understand at all. Since the human body is easy, then gluttonous body is also a container. How can he be infinite? In fact, this question is also extremely critical. The fundamental purpose of Uchiha Qiye is not to obtain the strongest chakra attribute, but to be able to make his own chakra endless, so that he can have an endless battle with Mihong's army. Only in battle can he be truly invincible. Toji nodded and said, because the lifespan of the universe is not exhausted, the energy of the universe is naturally inexhaustible, and gluttonous is an accompanying divine beast at the beginning of the universe's formation, so it naturally has the power of the universe. Of course it is not exhausted, he can communicate heaven and earth are him. 99. It was the first time that Uchiha Qiye heard such a wonderful and thorough explanation, so he also understood that both ordinary human beings and sentient beings in the heavenly way are all chakras, because the body's ability to bear is limited. But gluttonous food is in common with heaven and earth, so it is infinite, which is really a huge gap that is indescribable. At this time, Uchiha Qiye has got a theoretical answer, but there is no practical answer, because it can't be practiced at all. After all, no one can turn himself into a glutton, right? But at this time, Uchiha Qiye thought of a very incredible question. He stared at Gaojiji and said, so Teodi is so powerful that he can still be suppressed by others, which is even more unimaginable. Who the hell suppressed him? Or Zhao? Is there anything stronger than gluttonous? Toji took a sip of tea, looked at Nantianman, and said, Teodi is naturally cruel. He swallows all sentient beings in the universe if he wants, and the desire for destruction flows in his body. But after forming the law of six paths reincarnation, the law of life is higher than the law of death. In this law Sage of Six Paths appears, using the power of six paths to seal the gluttonous. It can only be sealed, but cannot be killed. Chapter 598. Chapter 598. Until this time, Uchiha Qiye could just imagine how powerful a gluttonous creature was, and what was Sage of Six Paths. He didn't know at all. But so far, Uchiha Qiye only cares about one thing, and that is how to learn the infinite chakra. But he also understood that the infinite chakra could not be learned at all, nor could it be possessed by anyone in this world. It was the only one in the world, and only a physique like the ancient prehistoric beast like Teodi was possible. So thinking of this, Uchiha Qiye still felt very dull and depressed in his heart. If that's the case, then there is no way to do it, so Uchiha Qiye said, it seems that there is really no way for me to ask 027 this time. Now, I can only kill those damn bugs with my own strength. Toji didn't know what Uchiha Qiye did, but it meant that he was in trouble. So Todioshi said, oh, are you fighting? What troubles have you encountered recently? 35. As the leading figure in the ninja world, Uchiha Qiye is naturally impossible to explain these things too clearly. He is a character in the subjective heaven, so how can he care about these messes, beta? So Uchiha Qiye shook his head and said, it's very tricky. There's a man named Mihong in our lower world. He always tries to destroy the whole ninja world, so I have been stopping him, but from the current point of view, it seems that my power is getting bigger and bigger, and I'm getting more and more troublesome. Toji nodded, smiled again and said, I really want to understand. Mihong has actually been observed in our heaven, but the secret cannot be leaked. I can only tell you one thing, that is since time immemorial, evil has always prevailed, and it will always be so. 99. Uchiha Qiye naturally knows this truth. Of course, he doesn't just resign himself to fate, but wants to fight against the sky and the earth. The mystery is endless, and he will never give up his sense of mission. So Uchiha Qiye said, okay, if that's the case, I'll go back, and now I'm full of chakra. Toji seemed to have thought of something at this time. He said, Uchiha Qiye, you can almost feel the existence of gluttonous every time you come here. To be honest, there has been no such situation in 10,000 years. I can bring. What do you think when you see gluttonous? Uchiha Qiye was a little surprised and shocked, because he has always been curious and afraid of this gluttony, because this thing is simply too strong. It is simply a feeling of heaven defying. Therefore, Uchiha Kai's attitude towards Teodi is to keep a distance. Although he also vaguely feels that he has some fate with Teodi, he really doesn't want to establish any relationship with Teodi. He feels that it is too far away and too dangerous. So with this kind of motivation, Uchiha Qiye never thought of getting close to Teodi, and the most important point is that Teodi is 100,000 miles underground at Nantianmen, sealed by Sage of Six Paths. How could it be possible to see it? So Uchiha Qiye didn't come up with the idea at all. Chapter 599. Would you like to see the gluttonous food? Chapter 599. Would you like to see the gluttonous food? He also restrained his exuberant curiosity. At this time, Uchiha Qiye actually heard that Toji, who lives in the celestial world, asked him to take a look at this gluttonous food, so he was naturally very shocked. So Uchiha Qiye said, I want to go to see the gluttonous food? Is this appropriate? You really want me to see that giant beast that has the same lifespan as heaven and earth? Toji's serious expression seemed not to be on a whim at all. He said, yes, you and Teodi seem to be very faithful, and the heavens are already at a safe distance, so you won't see anything if you take a look from afar. At this time, Uchiha Qiye nodded, and since it can be absolutely safe, then naturally it is fine. Because he knows that his strength is definitely not as good as Toji. After all, Toji is the master of the heaven, and he is still in the ninja world. There is also a very important reason, that is, Uchiha Qiye understands one thing in his heart, and often recalls it. It was the last time when he came to the heaven to fall into a dream. Uchiha Qiye finally entered the dream of Toji after 3 times. In this dream, the phantom incarnation of gluttonous once appeared. Even in such a situation, Toji was always in a hurry. It is conceivable that when Gaoji faces Teodi, his strength is not proportional at all, but is completely afraid of Teodi, and people will feel an instinctive sense of fear when facing invincible power. So Uchiha Qiye understands that the strength of Toji is not comparable to that of gluttonous, so who is the 6 paths immortal? Uchiha Qiye doesn't know, but at such a time, he doesn't show that much curiosity at all. Advertisement. So Uchiha Qiye said, okay, I'm also curious about gluttonous food, please Toad Sage lead the way. Toad Sage nodded, then took Uchiha Qiye out of the palace slowly, and when he came out, the whole scene became very bright, giving people a feeling of being at ease. The wonderful music in the sky is played, and the ferrymen and fairies dance in the sky, giving people a very comfortable feeling. Katakana middle. Katakana middle. Ask for flowers. Katakana middle. Katakana middle. When walking on the road, looking at the water flow under the bridge deck is simply the 7 treasures water. The water inside is extremely clear, and has spirituality. Any scene imagined by these waters can change freely. This is the celestial realm of the extraordinary realm, which can always give people an infinite space for imagination. Therefore, Uchiha Qiye feels that it is really good to be able to live in the heavens, and it makes him linger, and he feels like he is in Kaoing and Han. 0. But Uchiha Qiye knows that his mission is a mission, and he must not have more nostalgia in such a place. Of course, after he has dealt with the ninja world, he will naturally be able to feel the leisure life here at any time. So Toji took Uchiha Qiye all the way to Nantianmen. Uchiha Qiye has never traveled so far in the whole world, and the reason is very simple, that is, although everything here looks charming, but as of course, outsiders can't just run around. So under the leadership of Toji, he was able to go in and out freely. Chapter 600. The Gluttonous Prison guarded by heavy troops. Chapter 60. The Gluttonous Prison guarded by heavy troops. So in this case, Uchiha Qiye can be said to be the first time to enjoy the beauty of the heaven, where every grass, tree and even a tree look very beautiful and delicate. So, after a long journey, Uchiha Qiye and Toji finally came to Nantianmen. After arriving at Nantianmen, Uchiha Qiye was surprised to find that 043 found that the feeling of connection with gluttonous food was even stronger and closer. He could even feel at this moment that there was a giant sleeping under his feet, so Uchiha Qiye felt that this was simply incredible. So Uchiha Qiye said, I even felt his monstrous power, that domineering energy. Toji took a serious look at Uchiha Qiye, and sure enough, this person with his own secrets has a strong and close connection with the underground gluttons. Because Toji has been in this heavenly palace for countless years, about a few 10,000 years, but I have never felt the existence of this guy, and I can only feel it when I go underground and see Teodi with my own eyes, his energy and power. But this is nothing unusual, any ordinary person will have such a feeling, but every time Uchiha Qiye comes here, he will have a strange feeling when he mentions gluttonous food, and Uchiha Qiye can detect it when he is close to the glutinous food, and feel the power of gluttonous. Isn't this a very rare thing? So Toji thinks, this is probably the secret and providence, and at the same time Toji is also curious, what kind of connection will Uchiha Qiye and gluttonous be? Advertisement. So Toji came to the Tiangong prison of Nantianmen. There were heavy guards in it, of course the gatekeepers knew Toji, after all, this big toad was the #1 in the heaven, and no one knew anyone. The general said, Lord Todioshi. Toji nodded and said, today, I'm going to bring someone in to take a look at Teodi, so please open the door. The general glanced at Toji with some surprise, and then looked at the person he was carrying. When he saw Uchiha Qiye, the general immediately realized that this was definitely not a person from the heaven. According to reason, even in ordinary heaven when people go down, they will be shocked by the momentum of the gluttonous food to the point of coma. And Uchiha Qiye is just an ordinary person, if he goes in, he may be in great danger. And another point is very important, that is, Teodi's strength is simply heaven-defying, even if Toji's strength is second to none in the heavens, it is impossible to protect Uchiha Qiye. So the general still reminded, he said, this brother is an ordinary human, how can he see gluttonous? I am afraid that something may happen. 99. Toji said, it's alright, I know it. The general looked at it, since he had already reminded him in place, if Toji insisted on taking Uchiha Qiye down with 3.0, there was nothing to say, after all, no one in the heaven could stop Toji. So the general bowed and said, yes, my subordinates obey. The general retreated, and the group of officers and soldiers behind also all gave way, looking very majestic and orderly. Chapter 601 The 33rd World Passed By. Chapter 601 The 33rd World Passed By. At this time, Toji and Uchiha Qiye walked in together, and after entering, a gap was cracked from the board on the ground, and just as soon as this gap was exposed, he suddenly felt a huge force soaring into the sky. An ancient prehistoric aura surged out from the ground. Toji of course felt it too, and Uchiha Qiye was frightened and stepped back a few steps by this energy. Although it was impossible to cause any harm, Uchiha Kai's natural dodge was also human instinct. Toji smiled and said, "Don't be afraid, this is just the breath of gluttonous gluttons, and there is no harm." Uchiha Qiye nodded. After a short period of shock and fear, he felt a sense of excitement from his heart. This feeling is definitely not groundless. Because when they feel the unprecedented great power, all those who seek power will feel that this is the power they want to desire. And this has other more important meanings for Uchiha Qiye, that is, Uchiha Qiye has a feeling of blood connection, and it seems to have a very deep connection with this gluttonous food. In the past, Uchiha Qiye always felt that this feeling was probably an illusion, a fantasy, or maybe he thought too much. That's because he is still too far away from Teoti. After all, Teoti is an unreachable place that is 100,000 miles underground. And this time he just felt the real gluttonous aura. There is such a real blood connection, how could he not be excited? So Uchiha Qiye is almost certain, he seems to have some inexplicable karma with Teoti. Advertisement. Uchiha Qiye stood on the steps, Toji pulled his shoulders, and suddenly a huge force sucked both of them down at the same time. Uchiha Qiye didn't know what kind of magical device this was, because it was something he couldn't imagine at all. He only saw the bizarre picture in front of him. He didn't know what was going on. The things in front of him were all random. He seemed to see his own 3 lives and 3 lives, and he seemed to see the picture after his old age and death. But these are all flashes, leaving no memory at all, and some of the pictures seem to be the experiences of his previous life and past life, giving people a very strange attraction. Toji said, "Uchiha Qiye, close your eyes, you can't see here." So Uchiha Qiye obediently closed his eyes, and it took a long time for the two of them to reach the ground. After finally arriving here, Uchiha Qiye slowly opened his eyes, and Toji said, "Okay, you can come out." After Uchiha Qiye arrived at this place, he walked out of the stairs 043. This is a very wide space with various pictures in it, but only the gluttonous food cannot be seen. So Uchiha Qiye asked, "What is this place?" Immortal Toji pointed to this layer of cave and said, "This is 90,000 meters underground." Looking at the paintings on the stone wall, all of them are records of how Sage of 6 Paths captured and sealed the gluttonous food. If you really have a relationship with Teoti, then these pictures will affect you. Uchiha Qiye wrinkled or not, how could someone have a feeling with a simple painting? That's just incredible. Chapter 602 Supernatural Time and Space Tunnel. Chapter 602 Supernatural Time and Space Tunnel. Everything here makes Uchiha Qiye feel very novel and shocking, because not only are there countless paintings in this vast space, but even the stairs down from the prison are full of dreamy colors. Because the entire space that descends from the stairs is insubstantial, it seems to be a staircase created by another dimension of space, and people need to travel through time and space tunnels to directly reach the level of 100,000 kilometers underground from the heavens. Uchiha Qiye has not been interested in the surrounding paintings, but asked Toad Sage directly. He said, "Toad Sage, do you know how this time tunnel was built? It's incredible." After Uchiha Kai's question, Toad Sage remembered to explain to him. He said, "Oh, that is also Sage of 6 Paths meditating. What is the specific principle? I don't know. Sage of 6 Paths itself is just as the name suggests. The character who is completely beyond the reincarnation of 6 Paths, his wisdom and technology are simply beyond our imagination." Uchiha Qiye nodded, although it is impossible to fully understand, but after Toad Sage said this, it can be considered a little clearer. That is, the strongest known in this universe is Sage of 6 Paths. So I put aside my curiosity about this tunnel, and turned to be more curious about Sage of 6 Paths. Uchiha Qiye walked over, and among the frescoes full of them, the pictures he made were all about how Sage of 6 Paths conquered the gluttonous skills of the ancient times. Just these paintings, Uchiha Qiye felt a very shocking effect, that Teoti's body is very huge. According to this proportion, the body volume of Teoti is about the size of the largest mountain in the current ninja world. This is simply an incredible thing. If the guy is placed in front of Uchiha Kai's eyes, he may not even be able to see the complete body at all. So Uchiha Qiye followed the paintings of the whole gallery from beginning to end, and carefully watched how Sage of 6 Paths fought against Teoti for 3 days and nights, and finally seized an opportunity to seal the Teoti underground in the heaven, 1,000 miles away. At the same time, Uchiha Qiye is also very curious about the appearance of Sage of 6 Paths, because this appearance has a lot of similarities with himself. This fairy has 2 goat-like horns on its head. Although it is small, it still looks very interesting. At the same time, the left eye is the eternal Mangekyo Bloodwheel eye, and the right eye is the eternal Rinnegan, but there is still no on the forehead. The third eye is the eternal white eye. The clothes he wears are blue and white patterns that are spaced apart from each other. There are a total of 6 black balls revolving around him, and different ones resist the strong attacks of gluttonous. Are they good? And these black balls will never there is any wear and tear, and how strong the gluttonous attack is, it will never be damaged in the slightest, which is simply an unparalleled thing. Teoti's body shape is like a crawling dragon, with 2 horns on his head and a pair of larger horns on his back. His body exudes a strong flame breath, and his 2 wings are extremely large. It's all one piece everywhere it goes. Chapter 603 Suddenly entering the world in the painting. Chapter 603 Suddenly entering the world in the painting. The flames swept the earth, and all the creatures turned into dead bones in an instant, and all the plants were burned to the ground. It can be said that gluttonous is the absolute power that destroys everything in this world, and there is no other power that is its opponent. But there was actually a sage of 6 paths between the heavens and the earth, who was even more powerful. After 3 days and 3 nights of fighting, he finally sealed the gluttonous food with the Vajra Spirit Talisman. Of course, it can only be sealed. It is impossible to kill completely, and it is completely unfeasible in theory. The reason is also very simple. Teoti is the associated divine beast of the universe. It already represents the breath of the universe to a certain extent. If Teoti is killed, then the world will cease to exist at the same time. 043 Heaven and earth will live forever, and gluttonous will live forever. Of course, after a great calamity, heaven and earth will also enter into the empty stage of becoming and living badly. At that time, gluttonous will die in the true sense, but after a period of time, heaven and earth will enter into at that time. Gluttonous food will also be formed with the formation of heaven and earth, and so on and so forth. After reading all the paintings, I fell into meditation, and this meditation seems to have a wonderful feeling, because after reading all the paintings, there is an indescribable sense of immersion. After closing his eyes a little, Uchiha Qiye had an illusion. It can be said that this is not an illusion, but a feeling of time and space. Uchiha Qiye actually came directly to the scene when Sage of 6 Paths fought with gluttonous gluttons. As a tourist in this time and space journey, although he was here, he couldn't change even the slightest thing. So Uchiha Qiye understood, and he really had a miraculous reaction to these paintings, because after reading all of them, he was able to enter this place and watch the pictures that no one could see at the time. Because of being on the scene, I have a clearer understanding of the power and size of gluttonous gluttons, and I have also seen the divine power of Sage of 6 Paths Naha, which is simply magnificent. This battle was fought in darkness and darkness. All the scenes after the battle had collapsed, and there was no complete place at all. After a long period of observation, Uchiha Kai's mind was agitated, and he gradually came to his senses. At this time, Toad Sage looked at Uchiha Qiye curiously, and he asked, Uchiha Qiye, you suddenly entered meditation just now, did something happen? Uchiha Qiye finally slowed down and said, yes, I was there just now and saw the battle between Sage of 6 Paths and Teoti with my own eyes. 99. When Toad Sage heard this, he was stunned. He had seen these paintings countless times, but he had never felt like Uchiha Qiye. As expected, he was the son of heaven, and others simply couldn't do this. Uchiha Qiye asked, Sage of Toji, I want to ask what are the 6 black beads that surround Sage of 6 Paths? Why is the defense so powerful that it cannot be destroyed at all? Can't make it? 99. Immortal Toji stroked his gray beard and said, the 6 beads are called Truth-Seeking Ball, and each bead represents one. Chapter 604 How did you get the Truth-Seeking Ball? Chapter 604 How did you get the Truth-Seeking Ball? The entire universe is divided into 6 paths, which are the realms in each path, so they are extremely powerful and cannot be destroyed at all. Uchiha Qiye thought to himself, 6 paths. He knows the way of humans, Kido, the way of animals, the way of hell, the way of heaven, and the way of Ashura. Up to now, Uchiha Qiye has only lived in the space between the human realm and the heavenly realm, and the worlds of other realms have never been seen perceived. And Sage of 6 Paths can actually master every realm of Tao in his hands, which can be said to be the tyranny of heaven and earth. So curious Uchiha Qiye continued to ask, then what is the black staff that Sage of 6 Paths is holding? 35. Immortal Toji nodded and said, that's the Taoist staff, it's equally powerful, it can turn clouds and rain, it can be used as the most powerful weapon, and it can also increase the strength of his own recognition, Chuk, ninjutsu to countless times. Uchiha Qiye was amazed in his heart, that there is such a miraculous equipment. This trip can be said to be quite shocking, and finally realized what it means to be a person outside a person, a feeling that there is a heaven outside the sky. Uchiha Qiye nodded and said, it's an amazing experience, I have completely felt my insignificance and realized that I still have a long way to go. Toji Immortal is of course a character with more extensive knowledge. Although he is the supreme status in the heaven, he knows more people who are stronger than him. Humble, because of the wealth of knowledge, the eyes are opened. And those creatures that are more insignificant and humble are more pretentious because they have no vision. This is the logic of mutual harm at the bottom. Advertisement Toji said, it's very good for you to think so, now it's time for me to take you to see the real gluttonous food. Toji said this. Uchiha Qiye really has a kind of eager anticipation, although he can't see Sage of 6 Paths, but being able to see the great and magnificent gluttonous food is also an extremely rare thing. He must go and take a good look in front of Teoti. Although he doesn't know what will happen after encountering gluttonous, his inner curiosity always prompts him to watch it. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot seeking flowers katakana middle dot 0 so he nodded and said, okay. I'm ready. 35. After finishing speaking, Immortal Toji began to walk to the lower level with Uchiha Qiye, and this time, there is no need for time-space tunnel transmission, but another level of stairs. After Uchiha Qiye walked in with Toji, the elevator door was opened. Automatically closes. 0. Immortal Toji pressed the button lightly, and suddenly the elevator went down and rushed down. After a while, Uchiha Qiye suddenly felt hot and dry, so he glanced at Immortal Toji strangely. Toji Immortal said, Uchiha Qiye, here is just getting close to Teoti. He is a divine beast full of fire breath, so we think the heat is normal. You can open chakra to resist. According to what he said, Uchiha Qiye had to use chakra to resist this heat flow. Fortunately, the total amount of chakra in Uchiha Qiye was like the sea, and it was nothing to consume this chakra. After a while, it seemed to have reached the lowest level of the heavenly realm. Chapter 605 Devil's Whispers, Call of Duty. Chapter 605 Devil's Whispers, Call of Duty. The elevator finally stopped. After Gaoji and Uchiha Qiye got out of the elevator together, they were completely stunned by the scene in front of them. I saw a behemoth, as high as a mountain peak, which looked extremely shocking, a reptile resembling a dragon, and its body was naturally sprayed with the breath of flames. Only huge claws, behind a pair of wings that can cover the whole body, are binding. This is gluttonous. At this time he is lying on the ground sleeping. Uchiha Qiye said, "Is this the legendary gluttonous food?" Immortal Toji nodded and walked forward with Uchiha Qiye. Maybe Immortal Toji has seen gluttonous so many times, so there is nothing to be afraid of, but Uchiha Qiye is the first time to see it. Then a powerful prestige, a huge oppressive force. Even if you are sleeping, you can feel a very terrifying coercion. This made Uchiha Qiye feel trembling even when he took a few steps forward, so that he didn't dare to move forward. Immortal Toji glanced at Uchiha Qiye in surprise, not expecting such a terrifying feeling for a mortal. Toji Shanran said with a smile, "Don't be afraid, he has been trapped by the magical rune. It is impossible to wake up. Teodi will be in the eternal dream until the universe is destroyed, and there is no power to wake him up." 99. After Immortal Toji said this, Uchiha Qiye felt a little more relaxed in his heart, so he followed Immortal Toji and walked forward. Advertisement. When they were very close to Teodi, the two people stopped. Uchiha Qiye looked at this tall and terrifying beast, and his heart couldn't stop being shocked. He had seen all the tailed beasts in the ninja world, and those tailed beasts had already given him a strong and shocking feeling, but when compared with gluttonous food, it was like a small sandbag and it was completely unworthy of mention. The shock of this kind of power, the oppressive force of the blood, led Uchiha Qiye see for the first time what it means to be powerful in the true sense. Uchiha Qiye has also seen many strong men, and he is more or less recognized for their strength, but those are the strength comparisons in terms of strength. And gluttony is power itself. Uchiha Qiye was fascinated for a while, an indescribable feeling made him wonder where his thoughts were drifting. He could see Immortal Toji talking beside him, and reminding and instructing something. But it was only seeing, there was no auditory experience, and the whole person was immersed in a situation that could not be said at all. This feeling made Uchiha Qiye not know what to do. Wanting to escape, but there is nowhere to escape, wanting to wake up, but without the willpower to wake up, it seems like a dream, and I don't know what to do with 3.0. Immediately afterwards, there was a feeling of a devil whispering in his heart, and the devil-like language has always reminded him, dream, dream. Immediately after, Uchiha Qiye came to his senses. At this time, Immortal Toji was shaking Uchiha Qiye's body with force, because Immortal Toji realized that Uchiha Qiye seemed to be bewitched by some power, and the whole person was fascinated. Chapter 606 I can feel it. It's calling me. Chapter 606 I can feel it. It's calling me. Uchiha Qiye had entered a state of complete unconsciousness at this time, and there was no thought at all in this state. At this time, Immortal Toji looked back at Uchiha Qiye, and suddenly realized that Uchiha Qiye was being bewitched by some kind of power. But in this place, unless the two of them have no one else at all, is it a gluttony in a sealed state? But gluttonous is in his own dream, how can 14 do to Uchiha Qiye in reality? Impossible, absolutely impossible. So, although Kagaji can't find the reason for the time being. But the most urgent task is to immediately rescue Uchiha Qiye from this state, otherwise it must be a big mistake. So Toji immediately pushed Uchiha Qiye, he felt that he had to wake people up immediately at such a critical moment. The body shook Uchiha Qiye violently, the latter finally gradually woke up in the process of fluctuation, but at this time Uchiha Qiye's eyes actually noticed obvious changes. Uchiha Qiye, who was originally human eyes, is a pair of clear and rigorous eyes. At this time, there are red whites in the pupils that look black, and they suddenly look a little scary. So Immortal Toji immediately asked, Uchiha Qiye, what the hell is going on? What happened to you just now? Uchiha Qiye did not answer his words, but repeated the whispers of the demon just now. He said, Master. Master, is it really so? Advertisement. Immortal Toji frowned. What master? Did something incredible happen? Although divine beasts will be tamed by some masters and become their favorite pets, this has rarely happened since historical records, because divine beasts have extremely strong abilities, and the possibility of being tamed by humans is very low. Not to mention the ancient beasts like gluttonous beasts, it is absolutely impossible for anyone to become its master. So what is Uchiha Qiye talking about? This state looks very abnormal, and it gives people a feeling of completely incomprehensible. So Immortal Toji said, have you been influenced by something? Uchiha Qiye, are you insane now? Uchiha Qiye's eyes stared blankly at the gluttonous food that was being sealed, and he said, Immortal Toji, you once taught me how to fall into a dream. You said, what would happen if I fell into a gluttonous dream? Quote. Immortal Toji suddenly widened his eyes. He was actually teasing Uchiha Qiye at that time, because there are very few people who can do this, it is almost impossible. So Immortal Toji said, that's an extremely dangerous thing, it's absolutely impossible, no one can enter into Teodi's dream, even if someone reluctantly enters, his mind will be destroyed, because Teodi's consciousness is also extremely powerful. Quote. Uchiha Qiye shook his head and said, no. I can feel that he is calling me, and I am going to have a look in its dream. After he finished speaking, Uchiha Qiye closed his eyes again, and the whole person went out of the body in an instant. In this state, Uchiha Qiye looked back at his body, which was being shaken violently by immortal Toji. Chapter 607 Teoti's Dreamland. Chapter 607 Teoti's Dreamland. Trying to stop him from getting into concentration, but that's impossible. Because Uchiha Qiye has already mastered this kind of skill, it is absolutely impossible to be influenced by other realms, and it is just something that can be done immediately if he wants to enter meditation. So he glanced at Teoti, because there was a powerful god calling him, and the incomparable power of Nabahue was exactly what he kept craving. Without hesitation, Uchiha Qiye plunged directly into the dream world of gluttonous gluttons. As soon as he came in, he saw that the black volcano was like a hell, the thick magma was rushing wildly, and Teoti was lying on the black volcano in his dream, looking majestic and tall. Uchiha Qiye looked at the gluttonous, that lively appearance, the fierce and sturdy aura as the power that this world has never seen before, how much he yearns for this kind of power. When Teoti noticed Uchiha Qiye, he even said, Uchiha Qiye, how many years have been passed? I can't count at all, maybe 500 billion years, I finally see you again. Uchiha Qiye always had an inexplicable sense of connection with Teoti, although he couldn't figure out what was going on, but this familiar feeling wouldn't lie at all. So Uchiha Qiye said, 500 billion years, what is our relationship? Advertisement. Teoti was silent for a long time, and didn't seem to intend to tell Uchiha Qiye the answer, but looked at him and said, you are in trouble, you need my chakra. Uchiha Qiye frowned. How did this glutton know, as if everything in his heart was known? Teoti continued, I know what you think, it's very easy, don't easily have any hidden thoughts in front of the ancient beasts, I can give you my strength, but you have to promise me a condition. Uchiha Qiye shrugged and asked, tell me, under what conditions? Teoti said, of course it's what you saw. I've been imprisoned in a dream for more than 10,000 years, and it's impossible to go out. If I give you strength, you will stand by my side when I need you. Uchiha Qiye blinked, when he needed it. Do you want to help him fight against the pervert sage of 6 paths? Not to mention whether Uchiha Qiye's 3 views can do it, with his strength, in front of these big men, how could they possibly be helped by being like ants? Teoti's wings flapped involuntarily, and even so, he felt like the ground was shaking, let alone a real fight. Before Uchiha Qiye could open his mouth to refuse, Teoti said, I know you can't help me in a while, and I won't embarrass you at that time. In short, you can agree to my conditions. Uchiha Qiye's anguish in his heart, he hates the feeling of being completely controlled by another creature, because he really knows what the other party knows in his heart, which is definitely not a good thing. So Uchiha Qiye nodded, it's okay, but if you really help you and let it go, you'll destroy the whole world. I'm not sure whether I can help you or not, but you agreed that you won't embarrass me. Teoti didn't like chattering, so he stepped on his hoof. Chapter 608 Achieved. Terrorist Chaos Chakra. Chapter 608 Achieved. Terrorist Chaos Chakra. I saw that the ground shook and the mountain was shaking, and even the river was flowing backwards. Uchiha Qiye, who saw this scene, was almost dumbfounded. Teoti said, you just need to answer me, yes or no. For the first time, Uchiha Qiye was shocked by this terrifying power, and he couldn't imagine how to deal with such a powerful force. Moreover, in the dream, Teoti can tear him apart at any time. This is the original god of Uchiha Qiye. If Teoti is unhappy and destroys his original god, then everything is over. So Uchiha Qiye said, I promise. After just finishing 043, Teoti spit out a ball from his mouth. The sphere looked like a fiery red magma ball, and then slowly cooled down and turned into a warm red sphere similar to the setting sun. It suddenly spit into Uchiha Qiye's hand, and Uchiha Qiye felt a scalding hot feeling when he first reached his hand, but after a while, it became less hot. Uchiha Qiye said, this. What is this? Teoti replied, this is the original energy of Tieni Chakra, which should actually be called Chaos Chakra, because it can restrain all other beta chakras except the Immortal Chakra, and the energy is infinite, and you can use it how you want. 35. After Uchiha Qiye listened to it, the whole person was astonished to the death. It turned out that such a thing really existed. Teoti said, swallow it directly. Advertisement. Uchiha Qiye really swallowed the primordial energy directly, and suddenly the reddish sphere slammed into his Yuenshin body, destroying all of Uchiha Qiye's other attributes, chakra. Clean, only this chaos chakra remains. A huge force made Uchiha Qiye feel as if he could be the enemy of heaven and earth. This chaos chakra is simply incomparable. The chakra, which was originally as thick as the sea, no longer exists at this time, replaced by the breath that communicates with the heaven and the earth. As long as the heaven and the earth are there, the energy of the chakra is endless, and there will never be a moment when the energy is exhausted. This feeling is simply too wonderful, too powerful. Teoti said, go out, it's useless if you go back later, because you have my original energy in your body. 39. At this moment, Uchiha Qiye was suddenly driven out of his dream by the gluttonous glutton, and returned to his body. As soon as he opened his eyes, Immortal Toji, who was still beside Uchiha Qiye, was directly bombarded by the surging power of Uchiha Qiye. With a bang, Immortal Toji slammed into the wall so straight. The chakra around Uchiha Qiye kept surging, and the violent power was about to come out. With a roar of Uchiha Qiye, the entire basement trembled. This is a sense of excitement, and a sense of control of power, and suddenly getting what you dream of. Even Uchiha Qiye in a very good mood will feel extremely excited. Immortal Toji was not injured, but was knocked down by a familiar terrifying force very unexpectedly. After he got up from the ground, he looked at Uchiha Qiye in astonishment. Are you, got Tieni chakra? Because this kind of chakra's breath does not need to be hidden at all, the domineering and arrogant power can be distinguished by almost anyone. Chapter 609 Shocking Chaos Chakra. Chapter 609 Shocking Chaos Chakra. This overwhelming power surged wildly in Uchiha Qiye's body. He had to keep roaring to vent the power in his heart. Otherwise, he always felt that this uncontrollable power seemed to destroy his body to the point of explosion. The same. At this time, Uchiha Qiye kept roaring, and finally after a long period of time, the original god in the body was completely restored to take over this violent force and make it run normally in the body. Uchiha Qiye only slowly woke up. At this time, Immortal Toji had already got up from the ground, and he looked at Uchiha Qiye with concern, not knowing what to do. Because even if Uchiha Qiye didn't make any action to Immortal Toji, just the roar of energy leaked out, it made this dignified celestial master feel extremely strong pressure. After Uchiha Qiye finally calmed down, Immortal Tojixian felt that the oppressive feeling finally eased down slowly, and he said to Uchiha Qiye, "How are you now?" Uchiha Qiye had regained his consciousness, but he had already exhausted his physical strength in the crazy energy operation just now. After realizing that he was safe, he suddenly closed his eyes with relief and passed out in a coma. When he woke up again, Immortal Toji was already waiting beside Uchiha Qiye. He got up, saw Immortal Toji who was guarding him, and said softly, "Did I faint just now?" Immortal Toji looked back, and was really awake, so he quickly said, "You are awake, you scared me to death, you have been in a coma for a full hour, what happened?" 35. Uchiha Qiye got up and took a sip of the fairy dew specially given to him by Immortal Toji. After drinking a cup, his physical strength recovered and his mind became awake. Advertisement. He told all his experiences in the gluttonous dream one by one, and the Immortal Toji was taken aback for a while. Finally Uchiha Qiye said, "I feel that my chakra energy is completely different from before. I got the legendary Tieni chakra, also known as Chaos Chakra. I still prefer to call it Chaos Chakra. For flowers, 0. Immortal Toji felt like his jaw dropped. Who would have imagined that, after tens of billions of years since Pengu opened up the universe, there is actually a human being who has the same attributes as gluttonous chakra. This is the first time that the world is shaking the ghosts and gods. Immortal Toji is completely speechless. Of course, he knows that Uchiha Qiye is the one chosen by God, but he didn't expect it to be so exaggerated. 0. After being speechless for a long time, Immortal Toji said, what should I say? It's really shocking. At this time, Uchiha Qiye suddenly thought that he had been in a coma in the celestial world for an entire hour. Isn't that a longer period of time in the human world? So Uchiha Qiye immediately said, "No way, I have to go back now, there are still many things in the ninja world waiting for me to do." 99. Toji Shanran nodded, looked at Uchiha Qiye and said, "Okay, you go." After finishing speaking, Uchiha Qiye did. Chapter 610 The Original Six Paths World Peace. Chapter 610 The Original Six Paths World Peace. Immediately return his soul to his body. At this time, Immortal Toji hadn't reacted. What was the situation? He really knew that there was a deep connection between Teodi and Uchiha Qiye, but he didn't expect such a thing to happen, and he didn't know it for a while. Joy or worry? Suddenly, a great spirit, 043, appeared in the bedroom of Immortal Toji. That person was Sage of Six Paths. Sage of Six Paths, you are here, have you seen all the changes just now? Toji Shanran asked in a panic, because he didn't know what it would mean. Sage of Six Paths stroked the white beard on his chin. He said, "Well, I see. This is a gluttonous conspiracy, but it's useless, it's impossible to break the dream and escape. My Six Paths the Spirit Talisman will definitely seal him tightly, but..." He said a word, but Immortal Toji listened seriously. Sage of Six Paths continued, "The entrance and exit of the gluttonous food will be closed immediately from now on, and no one will be allowed in or out anymore, except for you and me, no one else can." Immortal Toji immediately understood what it meant, which was equivalent to telling Uchiha Qiye not to enter there again, although this time he got the Chaos Chakra, which can output infinite energy, but not allowing him to enter again can be said to be this kind of protection. Who knows what kind of accident will happen next. Advertisement. So Immortal Toji nodded and said, "Okay, don't worry, I don't need to go in that place, and it's even more impossible for others." After Sage of Six Paths finished explaining, he glanced at Nantianman with some anxiety, and then his eyes became more serious. "It is absolutely impossible for Teodi to be released, otherwise everything we can see in Six Paths, all sentient beings in it will be destroyed. This adventure helped Uchiha Qiye is also God's will, since it has been completed, that's it." After finishing speaking, Sage of Six Paths also disappeared in place. Toji Shanran looked at the empty room again, and walked out slowly. It was a peaceful scene again, but only sighed in his heart. "I hope Uchiha Qiye can be well in the ninja world, and let the entire Six Paths be forever. Peace." 99. Uchiha Qiye just opened his eyes. It was noon now. Nagato and Konan were guarding his side, suddenly seeing Uchiha Qiye open his eyes and finally rejoiced. Nagato said, "Uchiha Qiye, you finally woke up and scared us both." This time, Uchiha Qiye is completely different from before. He has no worries at all, but first of all, he still has to ask the two of them, have you two felt any discomfort after removing the curse seal? The two shook their heads at the same time. In fact, this is what Uchiha Qiye wanted to get to 3.0. It's just a curse mark, it's no big deal, so he asked again, I don't think this curse mark could have been released by just the two of you, the whole world doesn't know it now. How many people have been cursed, do you have any information on this? 99. Nagato shook his head at this time and said, no. Chapter 611 First Acquired Ability. The ability to pursue the curse mark. Chapter 611 First Acquired Ability. The ability to pursue the curse mark. All I know is that Conan and I have been hit, but nothing else has told me, and I can't find out. 39. Uchiha Qiye knew it now. It seems that people who have been hit by the curse usually do not disclose their affairs, and they have not formed an organization. But this is not the same at all. He once remembered that when Wu En was fighting, Wu En's team was not controlled by the curse mark at all. 14. This means that Wu En and those people must not need the control of the curse mark at all, and willingly follow Mahong's evil organization to bring disaster to the common people, because they have a common wish, that is, to destroy the entire ninja world. And those who are really under the control of the curse mark, they will suddenly erupt at a certain moment and become walking dead zombies, and they can easily control them if they are not obedient. Then the sense of crisis in Uchiha Qiye's heart is also very strong, because all the people who have been hit by the curse are hidden, and once the outbreak occurs, there may be countless people, and the loss and injury are simply incalculable. Uchiha Qiye nodded and said, okay, I see, this problem is already very complicated, I need to investigate all countries, and by the way, completely destroy their organization. Conan said, is there anything the two of us can help you with? Advertisement. Uchiha Qiye glanced back at Nagato and Conan, I'll go out and have a look first and let you know if anything happens. After he finished speaking, Uchiha Qiye walked out without looking back, because Uchiha Qiye, who had just obtained Chaos Chakra, had a new ability, which was to detect the energy in everyone. At 2h at plus. This kind of energy is not only for the sensibility of the other party's chakra, but also to know how strong the other party is, and to feel the other party's special information. For example, for a person who has been hit by the curse, there will always be an evil aura pervading his body. Although it does not belong to the victim himself, that aura cannot be annihilated at all. The former Uchiha Qiye could only recognize the evil aura about Mahong, but could not feel the existence of the curse mark at all. The reason is very simple, that is because Uchiha Qiye also has chakra of various elements in his body, and he himself is chaos. One Piece, how can you soberly perceive others? But this time is different. The chakra on Uchiha Qiye is only chaos chakra, and nothing else affects him. This completely clear feeling can put oneself in a state of emptiness, feel others. Even an expression, a thought can be read in a very quiet situation, although this ability has only just been discovered, but 043 is that he believes that if he perseveres, he will definitely be greatly improved. At this time, Uchiha Qiye was already walking in the village, and he suddenly felt an evil aura that was hidden deep underground. There are only two possibilities for a place like the underground, one is in Konoha's prison, the other is Konoha Anbu's gathering place. Those Anbu's Jonin will not see the light with their true face all day long, but silently complete their characters, protecting the entire Konoha in the dark. Uchiha Qiye immediately followed this extremely evil aura and ran all the way. Chapter 612 The Rivalry Between Uchiha Qiye and Captain. Chapter 612 The Rivalry Between Uchiha Qiye and Captain. And in this place underground, a newly appointed minister of Konoha Anbu, Captain, is giving a lecture to all the Anbu staff. I don't know if the legend of Uchiha Qiye has been ignored, or if some people don't want to spread the miracle about Uchiha Qiye. In short, he didn't get the respect he deserved when he appeared in front of these people in Anbu. Since Danzo died last time, Uchiha Qiye didn't know who had trusted Anbu's minister. Looking at this person who was called Captain by the people below, Uchiha Qiye had a trick in his heart. Captain seems to be a very dignified man, this person is not angry and arrogant, giving a sense of irresistible seriousness. Captain saw that Uchiha Qiye had appeared in Anbu's secret meeting so inexplicably, he had to know that apart from Hokage, no one else had this authority. So suddenly there is someone who looks very strange, and Captain of course thinks that this is very wrong. The blue veins on his face burst, and he said angrily, who are you? How did you come to our Anbu? Captain was originally Anbu's minister. He spoke so harshly, and of course his subordinates were looking at Uchiha Qiye with very vicious eyes. Uchiha Qiye smiled lightly and said, I am the chief elder of the Uchiha family, Uchiha Qiye. 99. Advertisement. He didn't say it was okay, but when he talked about the Uchiha family, this person called Captain, his face became even more ugly. Because the position of the Uchiha family in the Konoha is simply too detached, the previous Konoha was just used like a chamber pot in the Uchiha family. Once the crisis of war is discovered, the Uchiha family will be brought out first, and they will go to war. And Konoha will preserve his power to suppress the Cosmic Wave family, and must not let these evil-eyed guys have any chance of coveting the position of Hokage. Therefore, the previous Uchiha family's position in Konoha was very delicate. They could make achievements, but they were never truly recognized by Konoha, which seemed to be a balanced partnership. Konoha gives protection and safety to the Uchiha family, and the Uchiha family is like a hound in the hands of a hunter, charging at the critical moment. But this year, the situation has changed completely. The Uchiha family's status has suddenly become very high, because I heard that there is a very good elder who killed the previous Hokage. Isn't this just heaven-defying? After hearing the news, Captain finally ran back and took over as Danzo's position. Because Captain is Danzo's cousin, this kind of blood relationship must have hated this guy named Uchiha Qiye. Captain also recognizes Konoha's long-term vigilance against the Uchiha family. Is it good? He thinks that the Uchiha family members are all weirdos. To improve one's own strength, how can this kind of evil and crooked way do not need to be careful? But today's Uchiha family actually has a tendency to dominate one family, and what is more sad is that the current Hokage is actually very friendly to the Uchiha family. How can this tone be tolerated? Chapter 613 The New Hatred and the Old Hatred are liquidated together. Chapter 613 The New Hatred and the Old Hatred are liquidated together. Captain's attitude towards the tragic death of his relatives, and witnessing the change in Konoha's entire attitude, this kind of sudden change in the political situation, he wants to find Uchiha Qiye to take revenge both publicly and privately. But no matter what, Uchiha Qiye has always been in the wild and didn't know where he went, so he couldn't find him to settle accounts, and he couldn't even find trouble with the members of the Uchiha family, because the current Hokage was too protective. But this time is different, because Captain found that Uchiha Qiye came alone this time, without anyone else, but he gathered all the Anbu personnel to prepare for a very important mission. Task. This is a secret meeting, no one else knows about it, and Uchiha Qiye, as an outsider, suddenly broke into 043 without being invited, which is simply not allowed. Then of course it would be easy to find trouble with Uchiha Qiye. So Captain said, since you are the chief elder of the Uchiha family, you should know the rules. The members of the Uchiha family are not allowed to participate in Anbu. We were having a secret meeting, but you suddenly broke in. This is a place where private trespassing is prohibited. You should know what a felony you have committed. As Captain spoke, the muscle lines on his face twitched, his hideous appearance and terrifying coercion made him want to swallow Uchiha Qiye alive in the next second. And Uchiha Qiye didn't expect that a recruit would actually talk to him like this, and even after he showed his high social status as the great elder of Uchiha, this guy actually treated him like a schoolboy. When did Uchiha Qiye suffer from this kind of anger? He didn't even want to pretend to be intimidating on his own site, but someone actually sent him to the door to give him a little bit of pretense. Uchiha Qiye said, what about me, Beta, when I trespassed into the forbidden area? You are a bereaved dog, how dare you punish me? Do you really think you are something? Captain first put his hat on him with a bad tone, thinking that ordinary people will definitely weaken him in terms of momentum, but he didn't expect to dare to provoke him with words. So Captain roared angrily, Uchiha Qiye, no matter what position you are in the Uchiha family, you must abide by our rules in my Anbu place. I now order you to crawl out of me until we finish the meeting. I'll reckon with you. Arrogance. This captain's speech is extremely arrogant, and the anger in Uchiha Qiye's heart is also a bit more intense. He has not encountered anyone who understands and clearly understands his strength for a long time. He is so arrogant. At this time, Uchiha Qiye said, Captain, I think there is no need for you to continue to be the minister of Anbu. I will not go out. If you are not convinced, let's have a test. Whoever loses will climb out from here. Originally, the members of Anbu were all well trained and strong, and everyone was Jonin level, and their psychological quality was extremely strong. They had never seen a guy who really dared to challenge their boss. Although there are legends about Uchiha Qiye in Konoha village, but I haven't seen this real person for a long time, so it's just a legend. So everyone at this time all looked at this legendary figure in unison. Chapter 614 The opportunity to pretend to be forced is actually delivered to the door. Chapter 614 The opportunity to pretend to be forced is actually delivered to the door. Is it really as strong as the legend, but his eyes are also full of anger? The reason is also very simple. Uchiha Qiye is a member of Uchiha's family after all, so arrogantly towards their old fight, his heart is full of anger. All hope that Captain can take care of this pretender. As soon as Captain heard Uchiha Qiye's provocative words, if he didn't knock Uchiha Qiye down on the spot, how would he convince people in the future? He looked back at his teammates, all of them were excited expressions, although they had been trained very strictly and would never say a word, but from their faces, I could see the emotion of anger. As for Captain's own emotions, of course he hoped to find an opportunity to destroy Uchiha Qiye, but this time he actually delivered it to the door himself. Of course, he had to clear up old and new hatred together, forget it. So Captain said to Uchiha Qiye, the chief elder of the Uchiha family, violated Konoha's rules and broke into our secret meeting privately. According to Konoha's rules, he should be killed. How smart is Uchiha Qiye? He can guess with his toes that this guy definitely has an opinion with him, but he just said it in a high-sounding manner, giving himself an excuse to fight against him. So Uchiha Qiye said, Captain, the wise people don't act secretly, and the wise people don't talk secretly, so let's make 3 moves. Within the 3 moves, I won't kill you. After 3 moves, you and I have a chance. Uchiha Qiye, if I really want to kill you, it will only take a blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, Captain's strength is definitely Super S level, and even the confrontation with the Shadow Ninja level is not too much. He Uchiha Qiye is just the great elder in the Uchiha family, how can he speak so madly and so arrogantly? As expected in the legend, he is very good at pretending to be coercive. Advertisement. But according to common sense, everyone is very clear in their hearts, that is, people who pretend to be forceful will usually be struck by lightning, and this kind of person makes everyone's heart itch. Finally a guy who couldn't help standing up, Captain. Kill him. For flowers, 0. Although this group of people are all well-trained Jonin, but the quality is the quality, after Uchiha Qiye's one after another, they couldn't sit still. Since one person comes out, there will be a second person and a third person. Captain, our Anbu's glory cannot be violated by the people of Uchiha. 0. Let him rectify the law on the spot, and if held accountable, we will swallow the entire Uchiha family. We've already seen the Uchiha family is unpleasant, we might as well end their great elder here. Originally, Captain was very ruthless and strict when training his team members. This time, the team members were enthusiastic and disregarded the rules, but they didn't make him unhappy. Instead, they wanted to implement their ideals. No way, he thought so too. So Captain said at this time, Uchiha Qiye, if that's the case, then I have to take you down too. As soon as these words came out, a group of well-trained Anbu Jonin directly surrounded Uchiha Qiye in a short moment. Chapter 615 Danzo is my cousin. Laozi is not afraid of you. Chapter 615 Danzo is my cousin. Laozi is not afraid of you. Uchiha Qiye immediately laughed when he saw such a battle, but there was no smile on his face, but some contempt arose in his heart. Just this group of rubbish, if it weren't for being in Konoha, he could beat them all over the place with one move. He just wanted to teach a little-known captain a lesson, and he dared to be so arrogant to him. And the impetus of pretending to be even stronger than him, this is simply stepping on Uchiha Qiye's bottom line. Uchiha Qiye smiled and said, Captain, what's the matter? Let your people surround me, are you afraid that I won't be able to run? Captain had a cold face, with a bit of seriousness in his angry expression, and stared at Uchiha Qiye with sullen eyes. He said, Uchiha Qiye, since we have reached this point, there is nothing to hide. I tell you, Captain, I really can't stand it. Your Uchiha clan dare to be so arrogant in our Konoha. Uchiha Qiye raised his head and glanced at Captain. It was a coincidence. If it wasn't for this conflict, then this captain would have become a bigger disaster in the future. What did he say? They Konoha have nothing to do with the Uchiha family, huh? So at this time Uchiha Qiye asked, you said, you Konoha. You think too much, Konoha belongs to all of us, what right do you have to try to split the Uchiha family out? At this time, Captain smiled coldly and said, Uchiha Qiye, the great elder of the Uchiha family, I'm not afraid to tell you, Danzo is my eldest cousin, you killed him indiscriminately, and I haven't avenged you yet. When Uchiha Qiye heard this, his heart naturally became more clear. It turned out that this guy was looking for a place, mainly because of this personal hatred. Captain continued, however, I, Captain, are definitely not someone who bends the law for selfish interests. After I came back this time, I found that the atmosphere of our Konoha is favoring your Uchiha family, which is distorted by human nature. This is not a good thing. After all, you guys' families like bedbugs should stay in the stinky puddle and don't come up, and come out to scare people, but you were wrong. When Uchiha Qiye heard this, he was already a little angry. He originally wanted to teach Captain a good lesson, but since this guy has already said so much, it is useless to save this person's life. Uchiha Qiye is rarely angry, but Captain's words are three-pointed even if he is a clay figurine, not to mention that Uchiha Qiye is an almost invincible existence in this ninja world. Uchiha Qiye said, Captain, I'll tell you seriously, this time I don't plan to let you live, so prepare a way to die. After finishing speaking, Uchiha Qiye's aura was fully opened, and a mighty power suddenly erupted. This was the roar of the ancient beasts. The chaos chakra was like 3.0 boiling water in her body. Anger flowed. This is only the stage of opening his own aura. Generally speaking, even a powerful and ferocious Jonin can at most bring a breeze when opening his own aura. But Uchiha Qiye just opened his breath when he could hear a sudden cracking sound in the air. Chapter 616 The Chakra Power of the Ancient Prehistoric Beast. Chapter 616 The Chakra Power of the Ancient Prehistoric Beast. Without any movement at all, and the output of breath, it is very natural to force these strong ninjas around him to retreat 3 or 4 steps. This was forced to retreat, but these Jonins worked hard to keep themselves from flying backwards, and it took a long time to stand firm. Before the fight started, Uchiha Qiye's mighty power was enough to shock the audience. He didn't attack after the full breath, yet he had such a powerful explosive force. All these Jonins' hearts squeaked, this is simply strong outrageous. Uchiha Qiye said, Captain, I won't break my promise, I'll give you 3 moves first, and then I'll kill you in one fell swoop, but I'll attach conditions, smash your entire 14 body, and die without a burial. This time, Uchiha Qiye is really angry to the extreme. No one has ever dared to humiliate his family, or even him personally. Uchiha Qiye in such a state is terrifying. With a murderous intention, he is naturally extremely powerful. Captain may have never seen such a strong person before. Captain himself is actually a strong person. At least one person singled out a dozen Jonin is not a problem, because even if he fights with Hokage, he has the strength to fight. But when facing a monster like Uchiha Qiye, he was suddenly shocked. What kind of power is this person? What kind of chakra is burning on his body, which makes people feel very incredible? But as Anbu's minister, he must hide his emotions and performance, and he must not be caught by his opponents, so he can see clearly what he is thinking. At this time, Captain said, I didn't let you let me, you can do whatever you want. In short, today is your day of death. On behalf of Anbu, I will kill you, a guy who doesn't know the rules. After you die, your clan will be killed. They will also be buried with you one by one. Uchiha Qiye, who had already murdered Captain, was even more obvious this time, because he got Chaos Chakra, so at this time Uchiha Qiye was surrounded by blood-red mist protection. This is the chakra from the gluttonous, the ancient giant beast, with fiery red flames flowing all over his body, although the blood-colored chakra naturally protects the body. Only now did Uchiha Qiye know in his heart that this kind of chakra can not only be used for energy transmission, but also as a resource consumption for combat, and it can also penetrate through the body to form a natural protection body for itself. It is indeed the first-class chakra in the world. This change made the people around them a little stunned. God, what is that? Red chakra, how come I've never seen it? 043. Not only you haven't seen it, I haven't seen it at all, it's just too incredible. I remember Like Might Guy, when he used the highest body technique 8 inner gates, when he opened the door of death, he could see the red penetrating body chakra. In fact, it was filled with the mist of blood. Could this Uchiha Qiye also do this? Waiting for a move. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Everyone, you say what I say, because people with discerning eyes can see that this Uchiha Qiye is really not a vain name. Just by looking at this posture, we know that he must be a very strong character, but it is strange why there is a red chakra. Chapter 617 Furious. Captain insults the Uchiha family. Chapter 617 Furious. Captain insults the Uchiha family. Then, as the captain of Anbu, he naturally has a higher acuity. When he saw the red chakra emerging from Uchiha Qiye, he also had amazement and doubts in his heart. How this guy's chakra is so special, but it is completely different from Might Guy's 8 inner gates blood energy protection, it is simply an incredible thing. Then there is only one explanation, it should be the unique ninjutsu of the Uchiha family. But so what? A group of evil families relying on killing their dearest and most loved people are just a group of cowardly bedbugs and good-looking flower arrangements, and he will not be shocked by the image in front of him. So at this time Captain said, Uchiha Qiye, it's useless, just wait to die, my captain is best at weapons, just die. At this time, a weapon was drawn from Captain's side. This weapon shone with a cold luster. It was an artifact, known as Muramasa. Wow, Muramasa, this is the strongest weapon in the Yamato period 99. Muramasa cut iron like mud, and beheaded countless villains. 35. The reason why Muramasa is famous is not because Muramasa killed the strongest evil spirit at that time. As soon as Muramasa took it out, it had a cold sheen, and it looked like a treasured sword, but Uchiha Qiye didn't care at all. If it was chosen according to the weapon spectrum, he would have given it to Chenying in the land of sand. The bloody sword over there is much stronger than Muramasa. At this time, Uchiha Qiye smiled faintly, and he said, you are very good at weapons, right? Yes, I will use a wooden stick to show you. 35. Advertisement. As soon as Uchiha Qiye sucked it, he directly attached a wooden stick in the field to his hand, and he said, I will take this ordinary wooden stick to one-on-one with you. What kind of character is Captain? This is Minister Anbu of Konoha village. He challenged Uchiha Qiye so seriously, but the other party just took a wooden stick and wanted to compete with him in weapon technique, showing that he was extremely pretentious and looked down on others. Captain said, Uchiha Qiye, you will be ashamed and regretful for your arrogant actions. With a roar, Captain rushed over suddenly, like an arrow from the string, and the village Masa, who was radiating the cold luster, also exuded bursts of murderous aura at this extremely strong speed, but in the blink of an eye, Captain actually disappeared, but his breath kept flickering from left to right in the field. Captain can't see it. Captain's speed is so fast that our eyesight can't catch it. I can still see it, but it's very messy, and I can't find the pattern at all. 35. As expected of our captain, he will definitely defeat the leader of the Uchiha family. In fact, Uchiha Qiye's eyes were fixed on Captain, no matter where he moved or any corner, he was under his detection. The reason is very simple. Uchiha Qiye can be said to have the best eyesight in the world, and only Mi Hong can compete with him. The left eye is the eternal Mangekyo blood wheel eye, and the right eye is the eternal Rinnegan. It was extremely real that could be displayed in front of his eyes. So Captain's speed is very fast, but in Uchiha Qiye's eyes, it is no different from a snail crawling slowly. At this time Captain thought that Uchiha Qiye couldn't see his actions at all. Chapter 618 Lousy can stab you to death with a wooden stick. Chapter 618 Lousy can stab you to death with a wooden stick. So directly in the sky, that is, on top of Uchiha Qiye's head, he chopped down with the village slash. However, Uchiha Qiye had actually been waiting for a long time, picked up the wooden stick in his hand and aimed it directly at Captain's village and blasted it. An ordinary wooden stick against the famous sword Muramasa, what will happen when the two forces collide? Everyone's idea is of course that the sticks were chopped into pieces, after all, the village is a famous sword. Bang! The sound of the two weapons colliding with each other came, and their bodies were completely refined at this moment, but because of the impact of Captain 43's power, Uchiha Qiye's body was also an inch shorter towards the ground. Then, in the next second, the seemingly fragile wooden stick rushed upwards with a bang, and the village known as the Millennium famous knife suddenly shattered under the impact of this wave. Break! Uchiha Qiye roared loudly, only to hear a squeak. The famous sword that was originally praised by thousands of people was actually smashed like shards of broken glass at this moment. The sudden change in this scene made Captain stunned for a moment, and suddenly, Beta flew back to the original place. Captain picked up the hilt in his hand, and then saw the broken sword body, lying on the ground pitifully broken piece by piece, with infinite grief in his heart. How is this possible? My Muramasa, my sword. Captain watched this scene frantically, his eyes were full of disbelief. After all, no one could imagine that a wooden chopping stick could directly cut a famous knife that everyone envied to shatter. Advertisement. It wasn't just Captain who was shocked by this scene, even the Jonin from the Anbu found it unbelievable at all. God, I really can't believe what's going on in front of me. How is this possible? Did I fall into the illusion of the Uchiha family? After all, the Uchiha family, known for their bloody eyes, is understandable if it happened in hallucinations, but if it happened in reality, it is really impossible to understand. But when everyone looked at Uchiha Qiye's eyes, they didn't even open the eyes of the unique Uchiha family blood wheel. I can't understand, could it be that Uchiha Qiye's strength has reached the point where it is simply beyond his reach? Everyone, you can't understand Uchiha Qiye's true strength at all, but they are all shocked. Uchiha Qiye thought to himself, when are you not pretending to be forceful now? You can't waste your efforts, right? So Uchiha Qiye said, I, the great elder of the Uchiha family, Uchiha Qiye, to deal with stinky fish and rotten shrimp like you don't need to open the eye of the blood wheel, you don't need to use a weapon that is handy, you only need to take a broken stick and you will be like hit you like a dog. So arrogant, so pretentious that everyone present felt that he was really pretending to be. Captain, the minister of Anbu, was so humiliated by Uchiha Qiye, and he didn't try his best to fight against him at all, but only had a stick in his hand, which was a shame and threw it to Grandma's house. After all, Uchiha Qiye did what he said, and said that he had to make 3 moves. Did he really want to make 3 moves? Uchiha Qiye said, we are really good at using blood wheel eyes, but before the fight, I won't open it, so you can say that I can't win, but I won't give you many rounds. Chapter 619 The Culprit Who Killed Uchiha Shisui. Chapter 619 The Culprit Who Killed Uchiha Shisui. You only have 3 moves, you'd better not keep your strength, or you won't know how you died. Captain felt that Uchiha Qiye did not lie, he did not open the eye of the blood wheel, but wouldn't it be more scary then? It seems that Captain can't underestimate the enemy, so at this time Captain no longer uses any weapons. After all, weapons are not what he is good at all. At this time Captain smiled coldly, do you Uchiha family use illusion very much? In fact, Uchiha Qiye has the eternal Mangekyo blood wheel eye. Of course, he is very good at illusion, but many times during the battle, he doesn't bother to use illusion at all. He feels that that kind of skill cannot achieve the effect of directly killing the enemy. Of course, it is possible to use it as a cooperative tactic, but it is not used too much. So at this time Uchiha Qiye said, of course. Captain said, isn't it because of your bloody eyes, such a simple thing has become the pride of your family, it really makes people laugh. Uchiha Qiye is a very smart person. Hearing him say this, he naturally has a trick in his heart, which means that Captain should also have blood round eyes. So Uchiha Qiye asked, why, Captain, do you also use blood wheel eyes? Captain suddenly laughed wildly, and he asked, Uchiha Qiye, you are so innocent, do you know how you Uchiha Shisui died? As soon as Uchiha Qiye heard the name, his heart sank. It was an extremely good ninja in the Uchiha family. It is said that he died in a duel, but after he died, there was no news, and the family could not be found after many years. His corpse. Advertisement. Although the search has never been given up until now, it is only a symbolic search, because the corpse will not last long and will rot, and the remaining bones cannot be found at all. So for so many years, there has been no information about Uchiha Shisui who disappeared and died. Today, suddenly when Captain mentioned this matter, he felt very strange in his heart. Even though Uchiha Qiye seemed to have the answer in his heart, at this time he had to ask the matter clearly, and he had to ask Captain to say it himself. Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot for flowers katakana middle dot o. So Uchiha Qiye asked, Uchiha Shisui, of course I know that he was killed, but we couldn't find the murderer, do you know more information? At this time, Captain laughed wildly, and said, Uchiha Shisui has an enviable Mangekyo blood wheel eye. How can such invincible eyes be exclusively enjoyed by your Uchiha family? 35. 0. Captain took off his right eye patch at once, suddenly opened his eyes, he said like a mad demon, I killed Uchiha Shisui. I took his eyes. Ha 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 ha. Captain was mad, smiling endlessly. And Uchiha Qiye looked at Captain's eyes that took off the blindfold, and the Mangekyo blood wheel eyes were clearly weeping. This was the scene after seeing his relatives and friends and seeing the sun again. Those eyes are indeed Uchiha Shisui's. After hearing the news, Uchiha Qiye was extremely angry. Chapter 620 Play illusion with me. Lousy won't kill you. Chapter 620 Play illusion with me. Lousy won't kill you. How he wanted to tear Captain apart and then burn his bones to ashes. He has never been so resentful since his debut. Even those genin of Anbu were a little speechless at this time, although they all looked down on the people of the Uchiha family, but this kind of secret killer, just for the sake of eye-catching things, they didn't bother to do it at all. But, 043, is his boss, but he is unscrupulous. Even if he doesn't give a bad review to this matter, he is not willing to give a good review. Uchiha Qiye said, Captain, your day of death has come, and the day of my revenge for Uchiha Shisui has come. Captain opened his hideous eyes, his Mangekyo blood wheel eyes were already bleeding, and he said, I heard that the highest achievement of your Uchiha family is Mangekyo blood wheel eyes. I have such a skill, why do you keep your Uchiha family? Use. After Captain finished speaking, he immediately released ninjutsu in his hands, Mangekyo Blood Wheel Eye, day and night. The moment Uchiha Qiye opened his eyes, it was as if the king was coming. The left side was the eternal Mangekyo Blood Wheel Eye, and the right side was the eternal Rinnegan. Open your eyes. As soon as Uchiha opened his eyes, there was a competition of illusions and illusions. Originally, Uchiha Qiye instantly felt that he was in eternal hell, but when he opened the eyes of the eternal Mangekyo, he immediately woke up. At the same time, the illusion was directly cast on Captain's body. In reality, Captain has lost his gaze completely in an illusion. Advertisement. Obviously, Uchiha Qiye's eternal Mangekyo Blood Wheel Eye is completely higher than Captain's Mangekyo Blood Wheel Eye, and it is not a grade at all, and the humble Captain thinks that this is the highest achievement of the Uchiha family. At this time, Captain was in a hallucinatory hell. He was put on a cross and was being eaten by a group of crows. And Captain's eyes soon grew out again, and was eaten again, endless reincarnation. His body was being hit by Uchiha Qiye's illusion body, holding a long sword in his hand, which was stabbing his body continuously, blood was flowing, and his intestines were all over the floor. Although Captain knew that he was hallucinating, he was completely helpless, because the other party's hallucination was simply too powerful to stop. Captain could only whimper endlessly, because the pain he felt in the hallucination was very real. But in reality, everyone knows that Captain has failed. He has been completely controlled by Uchiha Qiye. At this time Uchiha Qiye can easily kill Captain easily. But Uchiha Qiye must make Captain pay the price well, saying that if you let him make 3 moves, make him feel all the pain and torture, and then let him die slowly. At this time, Uchiha Qiye thought of a way to open a door of light 3.0 in a seat in the hallucination, which made Captain think that he could get out of the environment by going out from here. But at the same time, his legs were cut off in the environment, and he had to crawl. And the direction of the door corresponds to the position where a group of Anbu Jonin are standing, so this plan is very insidious. Seeing that Captain had really caught the trick, he suddenly knelt down because he thought he had no legs at all. Chapter 621 Illusion Competition. The Ultimate Chapter of Blood Wheel Eyes. Chapter 621 Illusion Competition. The Ultimate Chapter of Blood Wheel Eyes. At this moment, Captain actually crawled over to his team members step by step in the real world, like a mourning stray dog. Such a messy posture was simply under the influence of illusion and could not extricate himself. The team members were all dumbfounded. They thought that Captain must be invincible in the world. Who would have thought that he would be so fragile and unbearably vulnerable, and in their hearts, they felt that following this Captain would be a very hopeless thing. So at this time, Uchiha Qiye felt in his heart that Captain was already desolate and messy enough, but compared to the fact that he secretly killed Uchiha Shisui, it was not enough. Captain crawled hard, finally crawled to the door in the illusion world, and got out at once. In fact, Uchiha Qiye didn't lie to him, because as long as he climbed out of the hole, the illusion would be automatically lifted. So Captain was completely awake at this time, but he glanced around and suddenly realized that he was kneeling in the sewer, like a poor maggot. Of course, he was also fully aware that he had fallen into Uchiha Qiye's illusion. In this illusion competition, Captain had completely lost his face and his heart, and he was being tricked by others. So Uchiha Qiye said, Captain, you want to compete with me in illusion, you are 100 years earlier, how about it? Do you feel the feeling of being humiliated? Captain jumped up from the spot in anger, but at this time he didn't realize that he was already detached, and Jonin among the Anbu felt that he had no face at all, and his boss was being played as a monkey by others. That's all, the method is so contemptible, although Anbu specializes in some secret activities, all of which are secrets that cannot be told, but Uchiha Shisui's popularity has always been good, and everyone's contribution to Konoha village is obvious to all, so the fact that Captain killed Uchiha Shisui unknowingly would have upset the Jonin. Not only that, Uchiha Shisui did not commit any following crimes, nor did he touch the interests of Konoha village, and he had never heard that the high-level officials would issue a mission to kill this person. In other words, Captain's killing of Uchiha Shisui is just a private action and a private desire. Captain can understand that the Uchiha family is not pleasing to the eye, but he did such an outrageous thing just to get Mangekyo's blood-round eyes, so it still makes people feel unable to convince people of virtue. These Jonins don't show it on the face, but they no longer admire this big 043 in their hearts. After Captain stood up, his clothes were still stained with dirty water from the sewer. He raised his hand and said to Uchiha Qiye, Stinky mouse of the Uchiha family, you are so despicable and shameless, it seems that I killed the people of the Uchiha family. It was an extremely correct decision, and all of your family members are damned without exception. Uchiha Qiye smiled and said, Captain, look at yourself clearly, your embarrassed appearance is obviously a big mouse that came out of the small water channel, are you still talking about our Uchiha family? 99. Uchiha Qiye paused and continued, Humble Captain, if I wanted to kill you just now. Chapter 622 Lousy is just teasing you. Chapter 622 Lousy is just teasing you. I've been able to kill you 10,000 times already. When he said this, Captain pondered a little, because this is an established fact. When he was hit by Uchiha Qiye's eternal Mangekyo blood wheel eye, he was in a hallucination. Under this illusion, Uchiha Qiye can take his life at will. This is a scene that everyone sees, and there is no way to refute it, so Captain can only have nothing to say. So Uchiha Qiye continued, the reason why I didn't kill you is because I told you that I would kill you with 3 moves, and now I have given you 2 moves, and you still have one last chance. Captain thought in his heart, Damn it, he originally thought that Mangekyo Blood Wheel Eye was already the supreme existence, who would have known that there would be eternal Mangekyo Blood Wheel Eye, which was simply unimaginable. To achieve such a level of Blood Wheel Eye, there is simply no one in 10,000, and it can be said that there is no such one in hundreds of millions. Who knew that Uchiha Qiye actually obtained it like this? And not only that, this great elder of the Uchiha family not only has eternal Mangekyo Blood Wheel Eyes, but also eternal white eyes, which is something he can't imagine at all. What kind of character is this? Is it a monster? The elders who have served as the Uchiha family have no such pervert strength at all, and he really underestimated the strength of Uchiha Qiye. But so what? He hasn't used his own trick yet, and since he didn't kill him, then Uchiha Qiye just fell into the trap. Advertisement. Captain laughed suddenly and said, Uchiha Qiye, you only have this chance to kill me, but you just missed it, then you will never have the chance to kill me again in this life. 35. Uchiha Qiye smiled lightly. Since he has this heaven-defying chakra, he can easily see everything about a person as long as he fights with people, including the flow and trend of the person's chakra, and even a person the breath can also be clearly detected. Originally, Blood Wheel Eye had a similar ability, but the B*********** D chakra was even more powerful in his grasp of chi. Therefore, once Uchiha Qiye fights with people, he can analyze the strength and weakness of the opponent in a very short period of time, as well as who is stronger. Obviously, this captain does have strength, but he is far from Uchiha Qiye's opponent. Uchiha Qiye said with a smile, Captain, in my eyes, you are nothing but a clown. To tell you the truth, your eldest cousin, Danzo, is much stronger than you. This Anbu's strength is truly a generation. It's not as good as a generation, which makes me feel very disappointed. Captain actually grew up in the shadow of Danzo since he was a child. Whether it is ninjutsu, taijutsu, or fighting strength, he is indeed not as good as the regiment. Therefore, when I travel far away and practice my own ninja outside, I will also echo Danzo on the side to protect Konoha. Although Captain is jealous of Danzo, he doesn't hate him at all, because Danzo cares a lot for him, and he really admires himself. Big cousin, otherwise he wouldn't have such a big hatred for the Uchiha family. But this does not mean that others can easily compare them. Captain was even more angry at this time. Chapter 623 Captain really has his own unique skills. Refreshing. Chapter 623 Captain really has his own unique skills. Refreshing. He said, don't say it. I think I was really not Danzo's opponent back then, but now I dare to say that even if Danzo is resurrected, he is not my opponent at all. As soon as he finished speaking, this made Uchiha Qiye feel a little curious, and even more to make fun of him. Uchiha Qiye said, don't be too quick, you still have one last chance, if you have any skills, try it out. Captain actually has a famous stunt, and that is the flexible use of water style and wood style, because Captain 043 understands the principle of the mutual growth and restraint of the 5 elements. Usually more powerful to 12 points of strength. Captain said, Uchiha Qiye, die, and I will show you what true power is. After finishing speaking, Captain's hand began to quickly form a seal. Although every ninja can make a seal, Captain's seal still made Uchiha Qiye feel a sense of shock. Because all ninja knot marks are all made by 2 hands together to form a mark, thereby releasing the ninja's magic. But Captain is completely different. He can make a seal with his left hand and right hand at the same time, release water style ninjutsu with one hand, and release wood style ninjutsu with one hand, and the two are actually done at the same time. Uchiha Qiye asked himself if he could do this. He didn't know, because he hadn't even thought about it. He felt that it didn't seem to make much sense, so he hasn't done it at all until now. But a miracle happened right in front of everyone's eyes. Captain actually used ninjutsu with his left hand and right hand at the same time. Advertisement. Water style, Mizusawa Heavenly Prison. Wood style, Shiba Camphor Wood. This water style and wood style have come into play at the same time, which is simply spectacular. Because of the truth that water can produce wood, water style is directly poured into the breath of wood style, making S-class ninjutsu beta Shiba Camphor Wood to its limit. Play. At this point, Uchiha Qiye also has some admiration in his heart. Who would have thought that someone could combine these two kinds of ninjutsu to exert the greatest power of wood style? What if you think about it? Is there another person in the world who can release water style and wood style at the same time? It is only possible for 2 people to cooperate, but alone there is no such opportunity at all. So Uchiha Qiye thought, yes, this captain has something new to show him, although Uchiha Qiye thinks it doesn't seem to be of much use. As soon as the technique was released, the overwhelming buds grew crazily from the ground, and rushed towards Uchiha Qiye with the turbulent ocean current. The other Jonin team members sighed inwardly when they saw this scene. It turned out that their Anbu minister was so powerful, and they didn't realize it before. Sure enough, their boss really had something. But Uchiha Qiye doesn't think so at all, because if wood style ninjutsu is used, the strongest user is Hashirama, the first generation ninja, and it can't be called the strongest wood style without reaching the level of Senju Kanon. Even the wood style, which has been prospered by water style, is no big deal at all. So Uchiha Qiye roared out of thin air, turning the chaos chakra all over his body. Advertisement Chapter 624, Just Your Offensive. Just Tickling. Chapter 624, Just Your Offensive. Just Tickling. Just the penetrating body of running chakra can give everyone present an extremely shocking feeling. Because they all vaguely saw something, as if a giant beast was roaring wildly behind Uchiha Qiye. In fact, what they saw was not an illusion at all, that was indeed the case, that giant beast was actually an ancient beast, that is, gluttonous. Because of the gluttonous chakra, when Uchiha Qiye uses chaos chakra, he naturally has a gluttonous shock soul bodyguard. Uchiha Qiye condensed his chakra on the surface of his body to form an extremely strong defense. He did not plan to fight against this powerful chakra combination of water style and wood style, but directly condensed his own chakra and gave it a try. Own defense, ability. Chaos defense. I saw a rich blood-red luster swirling around Uchiha Qiye's body. This was neither fog nor blood, but the manifestation of chaos chakra. But everyone present couldn't understand what it was, because it was completely beyond the cognition of this group of people. At the moment when Uchiha Qiye was ready to defend, the overwhelming water style and wood style attacked directly on Uchiha Qiye's body. Boom. This basement is crumbling, but the underground facilities at Konoha village are so well constructed that they will never be swayed. The rumbling sound was incessant, and the smoke obscured people's sight. Advertisement. But at this moment, the fog gradually dissipated, and the red chakra on Uchiha Qiye's body had a tendency to burn more and more vigorously. Because whether it is wood style or water style, all are the target of chaos chakra's restraint, because in this entire universe, only the magic chakra, Uchiha Qiye cannot be completely broken, but these chakras with 5 elements are all a target he can restrain very easily. Between water and wood, the two powerful tricks touched the surface of Uchiha Qiye's body. The moment the red chakra was completely vaporized, the water style was completely vaporized, and the wood style became a raging fire, but all of it was instantly destroyed. Uchiha Qiye burned out. Katakana middle. Flowers. That is to say, the strength of Captain's milk feeding was completely dispelled by Uchiha Qiye's easy defense. Finally, when the dust settled, Uchiha Qiye looked at the dumbfounded Captain contemptuously after relaxing his body. Uchiha Qiye said, "Captain, are you capable of this? I, Uchiha Qiye, let you do all 3 of your moves dignifiedly, it's really boring." 0. Captain stared blankly at everything in front of him. Could it be the hell? One move was S-rank ninjutsu water style, and the other was S-rank ninjutsu wood style. For any S-rank ninjutsu move, let alone Jonin, even shadow ninjas have to fight or dodge with great effort to get off the line. 2S ninjutsu, then the opponent will also peel off a layer of skin, and this is not only the effect of 1 + 1 = 2, because of the aquatic wood, that is the increase of the power multiplied by the multiple. Any ninja don't even think about getting out of trouble calmly, at least the vitality of being able to fight will be greatly damaged. But this pervert like Uchiha Qiye didn't fight him at all. Chapter 625 I won't have any kindness to you anymore. Chapter 625 I won't have any kindness to you anymore. Didn't use any moves to resist. It was just that he exposed his chakra to the surface of his body and made a very simple defensive action, and he even blocked 2S rank ninjutsu at the same time. Is this something that people can imagine? Captain didn't believe it. He couldn't believe that there were such pervert people in this world, because according to his knowledge of 043, he had never seen such a situation. Could it be that Uchiha Qiye is not a human at all, but a ghost? How could he be so powerful? This is simply unimaginable. In other words, Uchiha Qiye's strength has already surpassed Hokage, and he is just willing to play a small role. Yes, when people are fighting against others, they are always used to applying their own logic to others.
Captain thinks that it is because Uchiha Qiye, the great elder of the Uchiha family, is not as powerful as the current Hokage, so he did not fight for it. If he is stronger than the current Hokage, wouldn't he be finished as a Hokage? Captain asked himself that his strength was comparable to Hokage, so if he fought with Uchiha Qiye, he would definitely be much stronger than Uchiha Qiye. But he didn't expect that Uchiha Qiye was not only stronger than Captain himself, but he was also much stronger in this battle, to the point of inconceivable. So Captain was shocked, he even regretted provoking such a bottomless character. Advertisement Uchiha Qiye said, "Captain, do not hesitate, and I will not be merciful to you, I have made it very clear." If the first 2 times were within Captain's comprehension range, then he didn't really feel fear, but this time he really felt that Uchiha Qiye had a terrifying aura from his bones. What kind of strength is this? It is simply unimaginably powerful, perhaps not at the same level as him at all. When did the Uchiha family come out with such a pervert guy? He didn't believe it. Captain couldn't accept the facts at hand. Uchiha Qiye said, "Captain, don't you always think that you have surpassed Danzo-senpai? Although I despise Danzo, relatively speaking, I despise you even more. If you were given another chance to fight, you are willing to fight with Danzo. Would you like to try it?" Captain frowned, gave Uchiha Qiye a strange look, and asked, "What nonsense are you talking about? My eldest cousin is already dead, how is it possible to compete? In fact, Danzo has served as Anbu's minister for many years in Konoha. Many of Anbu's subordinates miss Danzo very much. Although they know that Uchiha Qiye killed Danzo, they do not blame Uchiha Qiye. Because after all, Danzo did make a lot of contributions for Konoha's development and future at the beginning, but in his twilight years, he did many things for his own selfishness that others could not understand at all. So although they miss Danzo, everyone has no intention of rebelling. Now Uchiha Qiye actually asks such a question, and these people don't know what it means. Not only Captain doesn't understand, but also everyone else. So Uchiha Qiye said, "You don't need to worry so much, I just ask you, are you sure you are really Danzo's opponent?" Chapter 626 Impure World Reincarnation, The Resurrection of Danzo. Chapter 626 Impure World Reincarnation, The Resurrection of Danzo. Captain thought about it and said, Danzo is no longer my opponent. After getting Captain's reply, Uchiha Qiye has a certain idea in his heart. Since he is so sure that he is stronger and stronger than Danzo, let's use the facts to see what the truth is. So Uchiha Qiye said, okay, if you are so confident, you'd better show me. What is the reason for your confidence? After finishing speaking, Uchiha Qiye made 14 seals in his hand and said, Impure World Reincarnation. Impure World Reincarnation? When they heard such ninjutsu, everyone was stunned. Wasn't this taboo ninjutsu eliminated long ago? No one in this ninja world has ever used this forbidden technique. Even if there was, it has long since disappeared in the long river of history with the replacement of history, so they can't imagine that there is such a taboo technique at all. But Uchiha Qiye redisplayed such a forbidden spell, and a huge coffin suddenly fell from the sky, hitting the ground with a bang. Uchiha Qiye took out a talisman from his sleeve and placed it on the person who came out of the coffin, and the talisman entered the body. The corpse was endowed with spirituality. After the corpse came out of the coffin, he took a step and looked back at his enemy, Captain. Captain was completely stunned at this time, seeing his former big cousin Danzo standing in front of him. This was something he could not imagine at all. Advertisement, Danzo. Danzo, is that you? Danzo's indifferent expression had no ripples, like a soulless walking dead, waiting for Uchiha Kai's order. Uchiha Qiye said, I have summoned Danzo. Since you miss your big cousin so much and always feel that you are Danzo's opponent and can easily defeat him, then I will give you this chance. After a brief moment of surprise, Captain immediately said, this is Impure World Reincarnation. This is not the real Danzo, it's just Danzo's strength back then, don't think about cholera my mind. 5. Uchiha Qiye shrugged his shoulders and said, okay, it's the same anyway, don't you think Danzo is not as good as you at all? Then I'll give you this chance now to give you a chance to compete with Danzo. After finishing speaking, Uchiha Qiye made a gesture, and the reincarnated Danzo immediately locked the target on Captain's body and rushed over like a fly. This speed, this power is almost the same as when Danzo was alive, and Captain has to take it seriously to be able to escape. The two people disappeared from the ground at the same time, and they could not see clearly. Only Uchiha Qiye could distinguish the movements of the two people. They were attacking each other in the sky, and there was not much difference in speed and strength between the two. Boom! Boom! Tremors echoed throughout the basement. Finally, after the two people attacked each other for dozens of seconds, the two people were not able to take advantage of each other before they appeared again from the ground. Since Danzo was reincarnation by Impure World, his face is not red and his heart is not beating, and Captain, who has spent a lot of energy, is already a little unbalanced. Chapter 627 The Impact of Water and Fire, Who Dominates Male and Female. Chapter 627 The Impact of Water and Fire, Who Dominates Male and Female. Captain never thought that he would meet Danzo in his lifetime, the big cousin who has always been better than him. He has no chance to prove that he is actually better than Danzo in front of everyone, but because of his brother's deep love and righteousness, Captain has no intention of defeating his brother, so he has always been on the edge of Anbu, assisting Danzo to protect Konoha. Action. To this day, facing the Impure World Reincarnation, which has the same strength as Danzo, but is not Danzo at all, he has some expectations and the idea of victory in his heart. Because the reason is very simple, this will not destroy the bond and affection between the elder brother and the younger brother, but also can prove that he is indeed stronger than Danzo. In this case, Captain's heart surged for a while. There were not many opportunities to prove his ability, and he completely abandoned the idea of a duel with Uchiha Qiye for a while. It's not that the duel with Uchiha Qiye is not important, but the opportunity in front of him is fleeting, and after passing this village, there will be no such shop at all, so he must seize the current opportunity. And the duel with Uchiha Qiye can be arranged in the future, so there is no need to worry at all. So Captain completely calmed down and said to Danzo, Danzo, when you were alive, I couldn't prove myself, and today, I finally seized the opportunity to prove my strength to you. Although he and everyone around him also know that this Danzo is fake, it's just a piece of dirt recreated through the forbidden technique. Advertisement Danzo didn't speak at all, because the soul had not been infused at this time. If the infused soul had a memory, the situation might be more complicated. And Uchiha Qiye also grasped this point of human nature, and did not pour in the soul of Danzo, but just showed his strength completely. At this moment, Captain made his move, with both hands knotted and printed quickly, fire style, great fireball technique. And Danzo on the opposite side is not too conceited, water style, water dragon bomb. One water and one fire, suddenly collided with each other, and with a bang, they burst into each other in this extremely vast and panicked basement. Fire style was suppressed by water style, and suddenly became silent, and water style also evaporated quickly because of fire style's extremely high temperature. In such a fight, no one could tell the difference. At this moment, Danzo ripped off the clothes on his arms, and saw the eyes of the Uchiha family members all over it, all of which were bloody eyes. This scene surprised everyone, except that Jonin, who participated in the duel because Uchiha Qiye taught Danzo a lesson last time, knew the inside story. Other people didn't know the inside story at all. At this time, this scene of Danzo is also revealing an important secret. When other Jonin see these dense blood-round eyes, they will be very clear. Danzo is not at all the sanctimonious they imagined, but it is also for the sake of a guy who takes advantage of his own interests. The reason is also very simple, that is, this kind of blood wheel eye can only grow naturally from people who are in the blood sacrifice boundary, but Danzo is not a member of the Uchiha family at all. So many blood wheel eyes have been implanted on his arm, and the reason is simple, however. Chapter 628 No one defends, slashes each other. Chapter 628 No one defends, slashes each other. That is, Danzo naturally killed a lot of people from the Cosmic Wave family, and engraved all their eyes on himself, becoming part of his own strength. Therefore, Jonin, among the Anbu sitting, also has a lot of dislikes in the heart of this old Danzo who he once admired. But this scene is completely incomprehensible in Captain's eyes, because Captain killed Uchiha Shisui and got his Mangekyo blood wheel eye, and was taught by Danzo not to do this kind of thing. Could it be that what he did has inspired Tuan 043? Why did he do the same? At this point Captain said, Danzo, you've disappointed me, since you told me not to do random killings, you've done more than me, really my cousin. And Uchiha Qiye was very resentful in his heart. These two people actually took their Uchiha family as a supply station for blood wheel eyes, and put them on the chopping board to fish and meat. This is absolutely unbearable. Uchiha Qiye has already committed murder, he must get rid of these two guys before he can be truly happy, otherwise, he, Beta, will be the great elder of the Cosmic Wave family. Just the whole time Captain opened Mangekyo's blood wheel eyes, he said, Danzo, it's time to compete with pupils. After a while, the two of them activated the illusion at the same time, and they both turned into crows, deceiving each other with illusions in their fantasy world. Advertisement. Although Danzo's blood wheel eye is no match for Mangekyo's blood wheel eye on the rank, there are more than a dozen of them, and under the condition of joint efforts, they are evenly tied with Captain's Mangekyo blood wheel eye. A strange phenomenon appeared. I saw that Danzo and Captain entered an illusion plane together, where crows flocked, the setting sun exuded an evil red light in the sky, and the two stepped on countless bones and slammed into each other. Neither of the two deceived each other, but both of them deceived each other, and they were all in the same illusion. This is simply amazing. Even Uchiha Qiye himself has seen the same effect of illusion in his life. The two of them drew their swords and attacked each other, and they couldn't even make a defensive action, because they felt that there was no need to defend at all. Why? Because they are too familiar with each other, they are both in the same martial arts, and everyone knows the strengths and weaknesses of each other's moves, how to attack and how to defend. But if they are all defending, it will hit the Dark Knight, which is meaningless at all, and if they are injured in the illusion, then their bodies are not really injured, so no one is willing to defend, and there is no defense necessary. The two were slashing and slashing each other in the illusion. Uchiha Kai's eternal Mangekyo blood wheel eyes can certainly be seen very real, but those Jonin who do not have these functions can only look at the two people standing blankly. It looks like you don't know what's going on. Uchiha Qiye smiled faintly, and directly pulled the group of Jonin into the world of illusion. The Jonin just came in for a brief moment of consternation, but they quickly understood what it meant. After all, they were Jonin who were well informed and would not be so stupid at all. They knew that Uchiha Qiye had summoned them in order to make them understand. Come in. Chapter 629 Yun Yen is cleared. Danzo's ashes are gone. Chapter 629 Yun Yen is cleared. Danzo's ashes are gone. I saw that the world and the environment was extremely miserable. Danzo in meditation held two bushidos in their hands, slashing each other, and blood suddenly spurted out of their stomachs. Captain slashed Danzo's arm with one knife, and Danzo did not hesitate to cut off Captain's leg with a knife at the moment he was about to fall. Even so, the two of them moved forward and used chakra to stabilize their figure. They looked extremely embarrassed, but their will to fight was very strong. Because they understand that this is a world and an illusion after all, and even dying here is fake, they just need to fight with all their strength. After chakra stabilized his figure, Danzo even used his own housekeeping stunt, Ghost Blade, God travels 100 miles. When Captain heard this kind of lore skill, he naturally knew the difference in his heart, and of course he had to fight against it with the same lore skill. Divine Sword Slash. About Danzo's magical journey, probably only heard in legends, this is an extremely powerful ninjutsu. I saw that the whole world was full of sword lights, and the sharp ones were capable of slashing everything around them cleanly. There was a sound of cold light coming from the wind. And Danzo's divine sword slash was even more magnificent. From the position of his body, a purple light bloomed, magnifying the sword energy in his hand countless times, and suddenly slashed in Danzo's direction. Boom! The dense sword chi of Shengxing Baili and the huge slash of Shendao Zan collided with each other, but because the power of Shengxing Baili was more powerful and completely surpassed the sword energy of Shengxing Baili, all of a sudden disperse all the chakra airflow in front. Advertisement. With a bang, it hit Danzo firmly, and his entire body was torn into two halves in an instant, looking very tragic. On Captain's side, because he broke the chakra infuriating in front of him, he made a full blow, not only unable to defend but also unable to escape this place. All the swords from the front, back, left and right stabbed directly at Captain. I saw Captain being stabbed by countless sword lights, and his body was blurred in an instant. With a thud, the two of them fell into a pool of blood, and they all died in the illusion. For flowers, 0. Seeing this scene, all of them were stunned. None of them could have imagined that Anbu's two ministers were so consummate in kendo. But in fact, Uchiha Qiye didn't think it was a big deal, let alone his own swordsmanship. Even his favorite little apprentice, holding his 7-star light sword, was much stronger than these people. 0. Because the two fell into the pool of blood in the illusion at the same time, the illusion was completely unable to support it, and the illusion was forced to fall in an instant. And Uchiha Qiye is very used to the switch between reality and fantasy, and those Jonins seem to wake up from a dream. Looking at Danzo in reality, it has been broken into pieces. Although he was only injured in the illusion, he is an impure world reincarnation created after all, and has consumed most of his energy. After watching Captain woke up, he kept breathing heavily. Although there was no harm to his body, he still had lingering fears from the expression on his face. He saw that his eldest cousin was leaving this world in pieces and left this world again, and he was very entangled and painful in his heart. Chapter 630 The Real Duel. Uchiha Qiye kills in one move. Chapter 630 The Real Duel. Uchiha Qiye kills in one move. He said, Danzo, I've proven that I'm completely your opponent, we don't compete, let's go all the way bro. Captain was panting, watching the Danzo summoned by Uchiha Qiye was slowly burning, turning into a void, and in the end there was nothing left. Danzo has no regrets in Captain's lingering thoughts. 043, really completed a hearty real duel with his big cousin at least in his lifetime. After a while, Captain's breath finally became even again. Uchiha Qiye smiled lightly and patted his hand at the same time. He said, That's right, Captain, we have a tie with my brother. Captain looked at Uchiha Qiye fiercely. He said, Uchiha Qiye, do you think you can play me? I haven't used my strength to fight, and my real strength is reserved for your funeral. Uchiha Qiye sneered in his heart. Of course he knew what Captain's true full strength meant, but at this time he didn't want to point it out. So at this time Uchiha Qiye said, Captain, you are not my opponent at all, you know it in your own heart, even if you turn on your full strength, it is the same. Captain is very confident in his own strength, he said, really? Real men don't like to be long-winded, so if they want to live or die, they should let it go. 35. After he finished speaking, Captain ripped off his clothes, and all Jonin behind him took a few steps back, as if he saw something extraordinary. But of course Uchiha Qiye knew what they saw, that is, Captain's back had a unique spell mark. Captain thought he was blessed by some god, but in fact, people just used him as a tool. Advertisement Uchiha Qiye said, Captain, what do you mean? Captain sneered and said, Curse seal, open. The curse mark behind Captain is actually the shape of a tiger. Those who want to put the curse mark on him know that this Captain is very powerful, so they should pay more attention. As soon as the curse seal was opened, a warm light erupted from his back. It was an evil aura, and there was even a black mist in the red. The black mist formed a tiger's stance, guarding Captain tightly like a guardian spirit. At the same time, Uchiha Qiye also observed that the Captain's strength can't be compared at all. Captain's chakra has undergone tremendous changes, becoming stronger and fiercer than before. And these chakras seem to burst his body. It seems that they can explode at any time, but they will never really hurt Captain, but the pain caused by the chakra airflow makes Captain feel the pain of instinct. After Captain roared, his aura was full of energy, and he roared, Uchiha Qiye, the bastards of the Uchiha family, die. 3. Zero's aura exploded all over his body, and he rushed towards Uchiha Qiye quickly, and the ground beneath his feet shattered every time he took a step. Uchiha Qiye did not dare to underestimate the enemy. The chaos chakra in his hand formed a spiral shape, ready to go. Uchiha Qiye never likes to dodge, and it has always been his habit to confront the enemy head-on. Chaos Rasengan.